Chapter 1. Dear Descendant. It was Wednesday of the third week of Naruto's first year at Shinobi Academy. An 8-year-old Naruto Uzumaki peeked around the doorway of the academy library, wondering if the nasty librarian would let him in today. He didn't actually want to set foot in the library, but Irika-sensei had assigned homework. Use the library to look up the names of all the past Kages of the 5 great hidden villages. He was late in turning it in, but it wasn't his fault. The librarian had always kicked him out with a nasty sneer on his face, sometimes literally. Looks like today was Naruto's lucky day. Slowly peering through the crack between the door and its frame on the hinge side, Naruto found that the librarian was missing. Maybe he was out to lunch and forgot to lock the door? Naruto didn't eat lunch, so it was like a free period to him. "Yes," whispered Naruto. He tiptoed into the library. 20 minutes later, Naruto had enough notes to finish his homework. Putting the history book back into the shelf, he was about to leave when he noticed the author's name on a thin little paperback on the shelf below. It said, "How to Be a Ninja," by Minato Namikaze. Wasn't that the name of his hero, the Yondaime 4th Hokage? Naruto checked his homework notes again. Yup, Minato Namikaze, 4th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf, with a 4-year tenure ending with his defeat of the Kyuubi and death at the age of 28. Naruto did not enjoy reading, but the Yondaime was his hero. He wavered before grabbing the book and stuffing it under his jacket. The librarian would be here in 10 minutes. He could read it after school. Late that night, Naruto pulled out the book and opened it to the first page. It said, Chapter 1. Introduction. Dear Descendant, my name is Minato Namikaze, Yondaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, the village hidden in the leaves. If you're reading this, you must be a descendant of me and my lovely wife, Kushina Uzumaki, because I placed a seal inside the cover of this book preventing anyone who is not our descendant from reading this book. Anyone else will see a genjutsu illusion of a boring, outdated history textbook and will feel a strong inclination to completely ignore the book, much less open it. If they manage to get past the genjutsu and actually open the book, it will self-destruct in an awesome ball of fire. I have hidden copies of this book in various libraries around Konoha and some of the other villages in the hope that my descendants will be curious and intelligent enough to find them. I've discovered that the vast majority of people in the elemental countries completely lack any kind of common sense when it comes to the fields of ninjutsu, ninja techniques, and fuinjutsu, sealing arts. They use ridiculously flashy, difficult, and expensive ninjutsu to do simple things. They believe that certain things can only be done with clan bloodlines. They use powerful and dangerous ninjutsu without knowing how they work or why. And many people completely ignore the field of fuinjutsu, which is, in my opinion, the most powerful ninja art in existence. A large number of so-called ninja have never used any form of fuinjutsu beyond exploding tags and storage scrolls. This book will guide you on the path to becoming a true ninja, a warrior in the shadows, a hidden protector of the innocent. This book will give you basic information on chakra, ninjutsu, and fuinjutsu, and tell you how to use that knowledge in simple and almost obvious ways that, strangely, no one else in the world seems to have figured out. You'll have to look elsewhere for taijutsu, unarmed martial arts, and other techniques, as I haven't found those fields to be underused or misunderstood like ninjutsu and fuinjutsu are. I ask that when you're done reading this, you replace it in the library where you found it. This particular copy is placed in the Konoha Shinobi Academy library, near the history textbooks needed for the traditional first homework assignment given to all students. I also ask that, if you find yourself in a village that Konoha was not allied with during my tenure as Hokage, you hide copies of this book in their library, secured with the seal you can find in the appendix, very last page. This is your birthright. I hope you enjoy the read. Minato Namikaze. Naruto closed the book, looked at the title, and opened it again. Nope. Definitely not a boring history textbook. Maybe he really was related to the Yondaime? That would explain the spiky yellow hair and bright blue eyes. It would also explain why he was an orphan, since Minato Namikaze was too young to be Naruto's grandfather. Now, who was this Kushina Uzumaki character? If he didn't grow up with her, she was either dead or she had really abandoned him like the villagers said. Was it bad to hope that she was dead? Well, maybe he could search for more information on her tomorrow. Worrying about it now wouldn't help, and the next chapter was beckoning. Chapter 2: Secrets and Lies. How to hide your skills and avoid paperwork. It was graduation day at Shinobi Academy. Irika Yumino walked into a room full of 12-year-olds in chaos and found Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka sitting on each side of Sasuke Uchiha. Both of the girls were completely ignoring Sasuke and fighting with each other across his face about who should be Sasuke's girlfriend. Literally, they were shaking fists at each other in front of Sasuke's face. Irika hid his camera under a genjutsu and snapped a photo. For memories, not for blackmail. Irika looked around the rest of the room. Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akimichi, Ino's future teammates, the next generation of Ino Shikacho. Kiba Inuzuka with Akamaru on his head. If that boy wanted to be a tough guy alpha male, the cute and affectionate little puppy wasn't helping. Shino Aburame, sunglasses, high collar, spiky hair. Hinata Hyuga. If that girl had confidence, she would have been the top kunoichi female ninja of the class. Speaking of Naruto, there he was, lounging in the back row beside Shikamaru. Irika made a friendly smirk when Naruto gave him a finger wave. And there were a bunch of nondescript characters with generic faces who wouldn't make it past the second genin exam, whose names Irika probably knew but couldn't bother to remark on because he didn't want readers to feel sorry for them when they failed. "All right, listen up," shouted Irika, using his big head jutsu. Everyone jumped except Naruto and Shikamaru. After giving his standard pep talk / graduation speech, Irika announced the teams. Team 7. Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura Haruno. Naruto Uzumaki. Your Jonin sensei is Kakashi Hatake. Sakura squealed. Ino growled. Sasuke said, "HN." Naruto just ignored them, smirking internally. Yup, dead last and rookie of the year with the top kunoichi, just like the last 3 Team 7s. Perfect. Those two are so useless I won't have any hesitation in leaving them behind. It was a good thing Naruto had improved his chakra control to the point where he could use low-level genjutsu like the standard Bunshin clone. If he hadn't done that, he would have had to ace the written test in order to pass the academy final, and that would have been extremely suspicious. "Where's Naruto?" screamed Sakura. It wasn't that she didn't appreciate the one-on-one time with Sasuke. The problem was, she'd been alone with Sasuke for 3 hours now and she hadn't been able to gripe or complain about anything. And Sasuke hadn't said anything further than, "HN." And that was once, when Sakura greeted him "hello" in a too sweet voice. The dam had finally broken, and now Sakura was tearing loose. I don't know what it is with him and our new sensei, but if they think it's okay to be late 3 hours, well, it's not. "Yo," said Naruto, appearing in the seat next to Sakura. Sakura screamed, "Don't scare me like that, Naruto, you idiot." She swung her fist at Naruto. He ducked. Kakashi cleared his throat from the doorway, stopping Sakura from trying again. "My first impression of you troublesome," said Kakashi, his voice bored. "Meet me on the roof in 10 minutes. "Welp, see ya there," said Naruto. He somersaulted back to the ceiling, where he'd been sticking upside down and meditating for the entire 3 hours, completely unnoticed until he sensed Kakashi arriving. Running over to window, Naruto slipped out and vanished. Stupid Naruto trying to look cool. "Come on, Sasuke. Let's walk up to the roof together." "HN." "Introductions," said Kakashi. When it came to his turn, Naruto said, "I have some likes. I have a few dislikes. My hobbies. I might tell you when I trust you. My dreams. Well, right now my dream is to pass the Genin test." "Idiot, we already passed the Genin test." Apparently Sasuke could say something other than HN. Well done," said Kakashi with an eye smile. He told them about the real Genin test and ordered them to meet him at Training Ground 7 at 5 a.m. "Oh, and I suggest you skip breakfast. Don't want you throwing up on me." The next morning at 5 a.m., Sasuke and Sakura arrived at Training Ground 7 to find Naruto snoozing in a hammock. Sakura wanted to scream at him, but Naruto raised his arm and pointed at a tree where 2 more hammocks were hanging, folded. "Grab a hammock and set it up," he drawled. "Kakashi Hatake is always at least 3 hours late to everything. Catch up on some sleep. He told us to be here. He didn't say we had to be awake the whole time." HN. The ever-eloquent Sasuke managed to compress a sense of disdain, boredom, arrogance, and a little bit of sleepiness into a single syllable. Sakura, somehow not understanding Sasuke's grunt, was about to scream at Naruto when the lounging blonde yawned in a most relaxing manner. It was contagious. Sasuke and Sakura yawned simultaneously. Inner Sakura pumped her fist. "Cha! Sasuke and I even yawn at the same time. How romantic!" Outer Sakura had a different thought, as evidenced by her blush. "Sasuke, do you want to share a hammock?" "No." Sasuke ambled over and grabbed one of the hammocks, setting it up a small distance away from Naruto. Naruto didn't want any more trouble from Sakura, so he yawned again. It was a bit fake, but it worked. Sakura yawned again, then sighed and grabbed the last hammock. 5 hours later, Kakashi arrived in a swirl of leaves. He found his 3 students sitting around a portable charcoal grill, munching on kebabs. "I thought I told you not to eat breakfast." "This is lunch," said Naruto. "Who eats kebabs for breakfast?" Kakashi silently acknowledged the point. Naruto sprinkled seasoning over the kebabs roasting on the grill. A delicious smell wafted towards Kakashi. "Want one? This one's done." Naruto lifted a kebab skewer with his tongs. "Thanks," said Kakashi, reaching for it. "Ah," said Naruto, moving the kebab away from Kakashi's hand. "We haven't passed the hidden teamwork test yet. Can't have it unless we're a team." Kakashi considered the fact that Naruto already knew what the test was about. He looked towards Sakura and Sasuke, who were munching on their kebabs and watching the interaction with interest. He looked towards the skewer of perfectly grilled meat and vegetables Naruto was holding. His stomach growled. "Fine, you pass." That night, Naruto went home to his crappy apartment. After closing and locking the door, he went still for a moment. Then he ate a cup of ramen and went to bed. Or rather, his shadow clone did. Deep underground in a well-furnished office, Naruto arrived and sat on the couch in a meditation position. "Report," he barked. A medium-tall brunette in a delivery uniform walked into the office. "Whirlwind Postal Service is still making a killing. Weekly profits are up by 1.5%. We're still having trouble breaking into the large shipments market. Civilians don't seem to trust us so easily when they can't see how their stuff is leaving the store. As you know, the main competitor in the water country area is Gato Shipping. Gato's rates are suspiciously low for their methods of moving cargo. We recommend having the spy division look into them. Maybe they're into drugs or something. Negotiations with the Land of Vegetables are going well. The daimyo seems to like the idea of selling produce to remote locations at luxury prices. So we expect to have an office there up and running the next month or so. Land of Tea seems a little more reluctant. They're used to the existing shipping companies, but once again we're hoping to entice them with speedy service to remote locations. Good work. Dispel. The brunette disappeared in a poof of white smoke. Naruto closed his eyes and processed the memories for 2 minutes before he opened them again. He made a cross-shaped hand seal, and the man in the delivery uniform reappeared silently, without even a wisp of smoke. The man turned around and Naruto slapped a seal paper on the back of his neck, which instantly glowed and sank into his skin. The man bowed and left the room. "Next!" commanded Naruto. A short figure stalked from the shadows, wearing a stereotypical ninja costume, everything covered in black except for the eyes, which were a nondescript brown. The figure knelt, one hand on his tanto and the other in a fist on the ground, in a stereotypical reporting ninja pose. Spy Ring continues to avoid suspicion. Clones enrolled in Shinobi Academies of Kumo, IWA, Kiri and Suna just finished their second year, situation nominal. All have scored somewhere in the middle of the pack. The two Chunin clones we inserted in Kiri's rebel forces report that the rebellion continues to grow in size. We project that Mei Terumi will become Mizukage within the next 1 to 3 years. Still no progress finding Utakata. Rumors indicate that he's still the host of the six-tailed slug. Jiraiya was sighted yesterday in Rice. We suspect he's having the same problem we are getting spies into Odo. All of Orochimaru's bases are sealed and underground. We can't slip in anything bigger than a fly. Okay, gotta tell the training group to practice using henge with a fly form. It's just freaking difficult to use the wings in that form. Thank you, you can dispel. After sending a new Spymaster clone out, Naruto asked for the training team leader. This one was an identical clone of Naruto. Yo boss, what's up? Here's the empty chakra storage seals. You ready? Naruto sat in his meditation pose, closed his eyes, and nodded. The clone dispelled, and after 5 minutes Naruto smiled. He picked up the stack of chakra storage seals and channeled a huge amount of chakra into each of them. Good thing he had suppression seals on the entire underground facility, otherwise this would have prompted some serious digging, literally, from that prick, Danzo. Naruto loved Fuinjutsu. After sending a new training clone out with the stack of seals, Naruto called for the last group leader. A pretty auburn-haired girl, appearing about 17 years old, walked into the room. Everything's going well with the apprentices. I've got 3 new Akimichi recipes since last week. Riku is still watching the master metalsmith working on chakra-conductive metal, hasn't been allowed to touch the valuable stuff. Sarah, the bank teller, is still bored out of her mind. And Sora got to work with some stained glass in the construction company. So he learned something new. Thanks, Yui. One more thing, said the clone. I think we should learn to dance. It might be useful for infiltration, and not just at formal parties. Could be useful on seduction missions. I see your point. Do you want to add it to your daily schedule? I think you have time in the day after your restaurant shift ends. I can create a new male identity to learn the men's dance steps. Yup, sounds good. With that, Yui dispelled. Naruto wouldn't respawn her until the next morning. No use in making a clone to collect memories of sleeping. Sleeping as a girl was weird anyway, even though he'd gotten used to it. As Naruto got ready to sleep in his luxurious queen-sized bed, he remembered the second chapter of his father's book that he had first read 4 years ago. Chapter 2, Secrets and Lies. How to hide your skills and avoid paperwork. Ninja keep secrets. Everyone knows this. For some reason, a lot of ninja ignore this. For a ninja, everything is classified. Your favorite food, where you sleep at night, your favorite hobbies, which girl you have a crush on, and most importantly, your skills, abilities, and jutsu. There are at least 4 reasons for this. 1. The obvious one, you want to surprise your enemies. 2. Anything your enemies know about you can be used against you. 3. Contrary to popular belief, having a big bingo book bounty is a bad thing. Why the hell would anybody want half the ninja world trying to cut off your head? This isn't One Piece. 4. If your allies know how powerful you are, they'll give you responsibilities. Responsibilities aren't bad, but they come with paperwork. Paperwork is pure evil. Let me expand on that last point. As Kushina says, paperwork was invented by Yami in order to get revenge when Kami gave us ramen. In fact, you know how I became the Yondaime Hokage? That was a mistake. The instant I got sworn in as Hokage, I got buried under 5 metric tons of paperwork. And the village council, they're the ones who give me all the paperwork. Every time I complain, they just smile and give me more. I'm convinced that it's a conspiracy by IWA and Kumo to assassinate me with paperwork. My training time has been cut to a quarter of what it used to be since I became Hokage. And my favorite jutsu, the Shadow Clone Jutsu, is hardly any use, because different pieces of paperwork are all related to each other and you can't even parallelize the paperwork into more than 3 different processors or so. I almost wish I had let IWA win the war rather than revealing my abilities with Hiration and becoming known as the strongest fighter in the village. We could have made Jiraiya the Hokage. I could have a nice cushy position on the village council, laughing at Ero-sensei and sending him pieces of bullshit paperwork with horribly drawn sketches of gay porn in the margins. Fuck it, I could actually go on a honeymoon with my lovely wife Kushina. Kushina's pregnant. Maybe I can convince our baby that being Hokage would be awesome and fun. Then I can dump the job on him when he's like 16 or 18, and I can spend the rest of my days making baby siblings for him with Kushina. Note that classified does not mean no one can know of this. You will need to trust your teammates about many of your abilities in order to work well as a team. And you'll need to be honest with your friends and family in order to keep them as friends and family, though a lot of the time you can actually cop out by being vague or straight up telling them you don't want to say. Just make sure your teammates, friends, and family can keep secrets, and make sure they know that everything about you is a secret. And anyway, how to keep secrets. Section A. Henge is your best friend. Henge no Jutsu, transformation technique, is known as an E-rank jutsu for disguising yourself as another person. This is stupid. What Henge actually does is transform your physical body into a different shape and color. Any shape and color. Yes, that means you can transform into objects or animals. Technically even liquids or gases. Though this is extremely dangerous unless done by a shadow clone. More on shadow clones in Chapter 3. And get this, while you're under a henge, you remain fully awake and aware of your surroundings, though if you're transformed into an object, you might not be able to see. On the other hand, if you're transformed into an animal with excellent eyesight, you'll be able to see better than ever, and your other senses can be improved as well. Note that it takes a lot of time and effort to be able to use any animal form. For example, if you were to henge into a horse, you'd have to learn to walk with 4 long, gangly legs. You don't get the instincts of the animal you transform into, and you have to learn each animal form separately. You can also transform yourself into a bigger, stronger person, and you'll get physical strength. Note that this is usually not worthwhile because changing your size significantly takes extra chakra, and you have to continuously expend chakra to maintain that form, so you might as well be simply channeling chakra to your muscles and bones to make yourself stronger. See Chapter 7. Chakra makes everything better. However, if you need to increase or decrease your weight, henge is perfect. That's why I consider a well-mastered henge to be an S-rank jutsu. Anyway, hand seals are dog boar ram. Channel your chakra while focusing on an image of yourself in a different form. Use henge whenever you visit the library to prevent people from knowing what you're studying. Use henge when practicing ninjutsu so no one knows what you're capable of. Use henge when carrying out missions in enemy territory, so no one knows who did it. That's how you avoid a bingo book bounty. Section B. Disguising your jutsu. There will be times when you need to use ninjutsu openly. If you're anything like me, you'll have an aptitude for high-level ninjutsu, which tend to be flashy in the extreme. This is dangerous because it can get you a reputation for being powerful, which sucks, as we've already discussed. Still, if you want to protect your loved ones, sometimes you'll have to act openly. Ninjutsu rule number 1. Don't shout the name of your technique. That's just stupid. Not only does it warn your enemy of what's coming, it actually slows down your jutsu. Yes, it might help you focus, but thinking the name in your head is just as good. And if it's one of those breathing fire type jutsus, you can actually choke on your own words. Gak. Ninjutsu rule number 2. Practice your jutsu until you can form and release the necessary chakra without hand seals. You haven't mastered a jutsu until you can do this. You can spit out jutsu faster, it's impossible for your opponent to see what's coming, it can't be copied by the Sharingan, and it's just badass. Just think, if your control is good enough, you can shout Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Fire Release, Great Fireball, while shooting out a lightning bolt. Your opponent will throw up an earth wall or a water barrier, which would be a perfect defense against fire, but far less effective against lightning. Note that the Byakugan can see chakra being formed even without hand seals. The Hyuga Dojutsu can't copy techniques, and in fact the Hyuga rarely use ninjutsu at all, but it makes it hard to surprise them. Good thing they're on our side. Section C. Learning in secret. Build yourself an underground training facility using Doton earth release techniques. Make it deep and big, and cover it with security seals. See Chapter 11 for Fuinjutsu. Use shadow clones to keep people from noticing you're missing. If you're on a Genin team, you may need to let your Jonin sensei and your teammates into this facility for training. Chapter 3. If you're not cheating, you're not a ninja. Team 7, here for a D-rank mission, chirped Kakashi. He never got tired of his students' reaction to D-ranks. Here are the available missions, said the Chunin in charge of handing out D-ranks. Painting a fence, chasing groundhogs out of a farmer's field, cleaning the Inuzuka dog kennels, capturing Madame Shijimi's missing cat. That one, Kakashi pointed at the last scroll, will take the Tora mission. Ah, said the Chunin, amusement flashing across his face. Here you go. All right, my cute little Genin. We've got an exciting find and capture mission. Let's go. Thanks to Kakashi's mask, you couldn't tell whether his eye smile was part of a genuine happy smile, or if it was a sadistic grin. Pest Tora. Naruto snuck up to the cat without any intention of capturing it or harming it, or even touching it in any way. The intelligent cat couldn't sense any killing intent whatsoever, so it didn't run. Mro. Tora backed away, cautious. How about a deal? Said Naruto. Would you like to learn to climb trees? Mru, said Tora. Okay, you can already climb trees, but I can teach you to climb up and down trees like a squirrel. Watch. Naruto set a foot on the side of a tree and walked up the vertical surface and back down to the ground. Miru. The deal is, if I teach you this, you come quietly whenever my team gets a mission to find and capture you. Mro, said Tora. Not good enough. Also, I can teach you how to walk on water. Mero? Yes, really. Just imagine you're running from a Genin team and you run across a river. They'll be flabbergasted, and most of them couldn't follow you. MRRR. Ow. Cool, it's a deal. Naruto shook the cat's paw. Hehehe. This is gonna be fun. Naruto walked out of the woods with Tora sprawled on his head, mirroring the way Kiba Inuzuka carried his dog Akamaru. Naruto, how did you find Tora so fast? Kakashi had to keep his disappointment from showing. Huh? Tora's a nice cat, stated Naruto, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Hey Sakura, wanna hold him? He likes to be scratched behind the ears, but be sure not to squeeze him. He really hates being squashed. Team 7 walked into the mission's office with Tora purring in Sakura's arms. Kakashi was in a bar trying to pick up women. Of course, given his choice of reading material and the fact that he was reading it in the open and giggling pervertedly, he wasn't going to be successful anytime in the next century. Mike Guy was in a bar trying to pick up women. Of course, given his choice of haircut and clothing, he wasn't going to be successful anytime in the next decade. Why the difference in success rate? Guy was actually paying attention to the people around him. Then Guy noticed Kakashi, and both of them stopped trying to pick up women. No, I didn't mean it that way. YOSH, my eternal rival. Did you hear? Madame Shijimi's cat Tora has become even more youthful. Asuma's team actually failed the mission yesterday. Guy, did you say something? Always so hip and cool. Kakashi, I propose a challenge. Whoever's Genin team can capture Tora faster is the winner. If my team does not win, I will run 1,000 laps around Konoha on my thumbs. And if I cannot do that, I will climb the Hokage mountain 5,000 times on one foot. And if I cannot do that, I accept. Wait, what? I accept. YOSH, Kakashi, my eternal rival. You are overflowing with youth today. I will do 500 crunches in honor of this occasion. The next day, Guy's team set a new record for the recapture Tora mission. They dashed back into the missions room with a very much cowed and bedraggled cat in 23 minutes. The day after that, Kakashi's team accepted the mission. Naruto walked into the forest and called for Tora. The cat ran up to Naruto, climbed his back, and perched on his shoulder. They casually strolled back into the missions room with a new record, 3 minutes. YOSH, I must know this most youthful young man's name. I am Might Guy, Konoha's beautiful green beast. May I know your name? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. It's nice to meet you. I cannot believe it. I have found someone even more hip and cool than my eternal rival Kakashi. People don't say hip anymore. Kakashi never accepted the recapture Tora mission again. He wasn't one to mess with success. Besides, it just wasn't as fun when his students were as bored as he was. Almost 2 months after Academy graduation day, Team 7 walked into the missions room and Sasuke spoke up. Give us a C-ranked mission. No more of these plebeian chores. Sakura was quick to interject. Yes, Sasuke dear deserves better. Give us a C-ranked mission. The Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi happened to be in the missions office that day, as he occasionally was, since he assigned the higher-ranked missions personally. He asked, Are you sure you're ready for a C-ranked mission? You know that you may be required to fight bandits on C-ranks. HN, said Sasuke. I'm ready. Sakura looked less sure. Then she perked up. Of course I'm ready. And if I'm not, Sasuke will protect me. Naruto said, Personally, I'm ready. As a team. He looked towards Sakura and shrugged. It was obvious. A village council member, an old woman named Koharu, also just happened to be in the missions office that day, which was very unusual. Oh, said Koharu, ignoring Naruto. Let Lord Uchiha go on a C-ranked mission. I'm sure he's more than ready. Said Hiruzen diplomatically. Well, it's Kakashi's decision as their sensei. Koharu stopped smiling at Sasuke and glared at Kakashi. Kakashi sighed. Give us a C-ranked mission. Very well, said Hiruzen. He handed a scroll to Kakashi. It's a protection detail for a bridge builder named Tazuna. You're to escort him to the country of Wave and protect him until his bridge is finished. Send him in. The smell of stale booze preceded Tazuna into the room. Koharu grimaced and left. Okay, hick. Where are the super ninja that are gonna, protect me? Tazuna, said Hiruzen. This is Team 7. They'll protect you on your way to Wave. These hick brats? They don't look so tough. I asked for super ninja, not hick tetchy little brats. Naruto leaned forward, a blank look on his face. The room grew colder. Tazuna suddenly sobered up and started sweating. Tetchy little brats, said Naruto in a monotone. Actually, you do look like super ninja. The room was suddenly warm again. Birds chirped, and the refreshing summer breeze blew through the room. There was even a butterfly which made Hiruzen do a double take. By the way, said Naruto offhandedly, as if the last 15 seconds did not occur, you're building a bridge? Where's this bridge connecting to? Yeah, it's gonna be a super bridge. It's connecting the island of Wave to the main continent. So this protection mission, you're being threatened by Gato's mercenaries. Hiruzen and Kakashi each raised an eyebrow. Tazuna started sweating again. Who's Gato? Asked Sakura. Oh, explained Naruto, just the biggest shipping magnate in the area. He's known for having the lowest prices for large shipments. So low, in fact, that they couldn't possibly cover the costs of running his ships. You know what that means. And then there's the fact that he more or less took over Wave 6 months ago. There's no proof, but everyone seems to agree that he was involved in the disappearance of their daimyo. Which makes sense, given that Gato is living in the daimyo's mansion. He's got a large collection of mercenaries and basically thugs acting as bodyguards. Naruto, how do you know this? Asked Kakashi. Overheard it from someone working for that new Whirlwind postal company. I guess they keep tabs on their competitors. Nice work, Naruto, thought Hiruzen. You're finally showing signs of your father's intelligence. I suppose bandits and thugs still within the parameters of a C-ranked mission. I had hoped to give them a nice easy protection detail, since Sakura isn't ready for any kind of fighting, but maybe this will serve as a wake-up call. I may have underestimated Naruto, thought Kakashi. To put all those facts together that quickly, he's smarter than he appears to be. That and the whole genin test with the barbecue. Now that I know Sasuke and Sakura better, Naruto must have done some serious manipulation to get them to eat his food. Breaking out of his thoughts, Kakashi said, "Very well. Prepare for a month-long mission. We'll meet at the gates of Konoha tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Team 7 was walking out of the Hokage Tower after receiving their mission. "Sasuke," said Naruto, "be more careful about asking that Koharu for favors." "Hn, what makes you think I did that?" Naruto shrugged. "It's not that. Did you see that smile she gave you? She's pedo." Sakura's eyes widened when she heard this. Sakura would tell Ino. Ino would tell her dad. Ino's dad would tell Shikamaru's dad, Choji's dad, Ibiki Marino, and Anko Mitarashi. Shikamaru's dad would tell his son. Choji's dad would also tell his son. Ibiki would keep it to himself. Anko would tell everyone in all the dango stands and sake bars of Konoha. It would be an entire week before the story was displaced by a new, juicier rumor. Konoha's gossips would soon forget, but Sasuke's fangirls would forever class old woman Koharu as competition. At 6:55 a.m. the next day, Naruto strolled up to the gate, where Sasuke and Sakura were waiting. "Hi guys," said Naruto. "Naruto, you're not wearing orange," remarked Sakura. "That's right, I'm not wearing orange," stated Naruto. He was, in fact, wearing a mostly gray outfit that was rather tight, showing his lean physique and wiry muscles. His dark gray cargo pants were taped at the ankle and his long-sleeved shirt had several pockets for storage scrolls. He wore fingerless gloves with metal plates on the backs of the palms. He had a standard kunai pouch, but other than that he didn't have a pack. "HN," said Sasuke. They fell into silence. 5 minutes later, Kakashi arrived at the gate with a sober Tazuna at 7 a.m. "You're not late," said an extremely surprised Sakura. "HN," said Sasuke in a surprised tone. Apparently he was back to monosyllables. "HN," said Naruto, copying Sasuke. "HN?" asked Tazuna, wondering why everyone was saying HN. Why is everybody acting out of character today? Except Sasuke dear, he's normal. "Brats," said Tazuna. "Let's move out," said Kakashi. 5 hours later found the team trudging along at a civilian pace, in a formation with Tazuna in the middle, Sasuke in front, Naruto on the right, Sakura on the left, and Kakashi in back. Naruto made discreet hand signs to Kakashi with his left hand. 2 ninja in puddle ahead. He turned to Tazuna and made a comment about the travel distance, so he could see Kakashi's reply from the corner of his eye. Kakashi blinked. Those were ANBU hand signs. Maybe the Hokage had taught Naruto? The two were known to be close. Mentally shaking his head, Kakashi signed back. Acknowledged. Naruto pulled out a small bottle with a skull on it. He signed, "Have antidote. Go ahead." Kakashi blinked again. "Go ahead," he signed. Naruto unscrewed the cap of the bottle and lobbed it into the puddle, which was now 10 meters away. "Naruto, what did you do that for?" asked Sakura accusingly. "Triangle formation. Protect the client," barked Kakashi. 2 masked ninja appeared from the puddle, spluttering and coughing. Kakashi was there in a flash, sweeping their feet from under them and tying them up. The demon brothers of Kiri, Gozu, and Meizu. Chunin level missing Nin. Sasuke, Sakura, stay with the client. Naruto. Naruto stepped forward. "You're dying," he said to the 2 trussed-up men. "Feel that burning in your lungs? Once that poison works its way through your lungs and into your bloodstream, it will start to affect your nervous system. Your entire body will soon feel like it's on fire, and your head will feel like the hangover after an entire week on a drinking binge. It'll take between 5 and 7 days for you to die. And the only antidote is the one I have sealed in my pack." "So," said Kakashi, "if you want the antidote, you'll talk. Who are you targeting?" "You bastards." "Fine. The bridge builder, Tazuna. Gato wants him dead." Who else has Gato hired? Demanded Kakashi. We don't know. They're not lying. Any other questions? Team? Naruto had one. Yeah, which one are you? Gozu or Meizu? Seriously? I'm Gozu, said the one who had spoken first. All right, said Kakashi. He pulled out 2 pieces of seal paper and drew something on them, then slapped them on the backs of the prisoners' necks. Chakra disruption seals. We'll leave them here for ANBU to pick up after I send a message to Lord Hokage. Naruto, the antidote. Naruto grinned. Just a paralyzing poison mixed with pepper spray. It'll wear off in a few hours, depending on how much they inhaled. The demon brothers cursed. Kakashi chuckled and I smiled. Sasuke had a different reaction. Dead last. Where did you get the poison? I demand you give it to me. You can buy paralyzing poison in any shinobi outfitter. You can find pepper spray in a grocery store. And why should I give you my stuff? I'm an Uchiha. It's my right. What? The great Uchiha clan is too poor to pay for basic supplies, taunted Naruto. Meizu snorted. That Uchiha. He's a real worthless brat, isn't he? Sasuke glared at Meizu. What is that supposed to be killing intent? My ex's mother had better killing intent. And she was a civilian. Sasuke pulled out a kunai and growled. Now, Sasuke, put that away, ordered Kakashi. The T&I department needs them alive. Sasuke fell back to what he knew. He said, HN. So, Tazuna, Kakashi said, falsely cheery. Then his tone changed. When were you going to tell us you had ninja after you? After a sob story from Tazuna and a warning about a probable upcoming fight with a jonin from Kakashi, Team 7 decided to continue with their mission. They crossed the channel in a boat and made their way towards Tazuna's house. This time, Kakashi was in front and Naruto was in the back, with Sasuke and Sakura in the middle. Look out! Shouted Kakashi. Naruto dove forward and grabbed Sakura and Tazuna, shoving them to the ground. A giant cleaver blade came spinning out of the mist and over their heads where they had been a moment ago. It embedded itself in a tree, and on top of the blade a fierce-looking man appeared. Triangle formation, shouted Kakashi again. Protect the client. This one's out of your league. The 2 jonin named each other in a reverse introduction. Kakashi of the Sharingan. Zabuza Momochi, missing Nin from Kiri. What's with the grandstanding, are you a samurai? Asked Naruto. I thought samurai would be a bit less, shirtless. Are you broke? Zabuza chuckled. Kid has a point. Let's see how you deal with this. Kirigakure, hidden mist, no jutsu. Zabuza raised a thick mist, vanishing into it. Powerful killing intent hit Team 7 and Tazuna. Sakura froze completely. Sasuke, shaking, started to raise his kunai to his throat. Sasuke, said Kakashi, calm down. I'll protect you with my life, all of you. I will not allow my comrades to die. Trust me. Naruto took a deep breath and thought. Futon, Daitapa, wind release, great breakthrough. He blew a powerful stream of wind blew at Zabuza's last known location, producing a stiff wind everywhere that blew the mist away. There were 3 Zabuzas hiding in that mist. Naruto threw a spread of kunai at one who was dashing towards the team's triangle formation. The kunai were blocked with a swipe of the sword, but the element of surprise was lost. The second attempting to sneak up on Kakashi, who faced it with a kunai. The third was standing by the trees observing, but immediately started to make hand signs. 3 Naruto clones appeared beside Naruto, with no hand signs or warning. 2 of them vanished in splashes of water, and at the same time, 2 of the Zabuzas turned into water with a puff of white smoke above each one, revealing that the real Zabuza was the one standing by the trees making hand signs. Naruto handed a sealing tag to the remaining clone, who vanished in a puff of smoke and kawarimi'd with the real Zabuza's sword, which was attached to his back. It slapped the tag on the back of Zabuza's neck, and Naruto made a single hand sign, channeling chakra to the seal and causing it to sink into his skin. Zabuza stopped making hand signs, spun around, and kicked out at the Naruto clone, dispersing it in a puff of smoke. "Shadow clones," he growled. "Don't think that'll stop me." Then Zabuza fell over, unable to move. "Chakra disruption and paralysis seal," said Naruto to Kakashi. "He's not moving until I take that off." Suddenly a short ninja with a Kiri Hunter Nin mask dropped beside Zabuza. "Thank you for taking out my prey," said the apparent Hunter Nin. "I will take him back to Kiri for interrogation." "Hold it!" shouted Naruto. He threw a kunai at the newcomer. It was too late. The apparent Hunter Nin disappeared with Zabuza in a shunshin body flicker. "Naruto," said Kakashi, "that was a Kiri Hunter Nin. You shouldn't have attacked him." Naruto shook his head. "There are no Kiri Hunter Nin. All of the Mizukige's forces are tied up fighting that rebellion of theirs. Besides, a real Hunter Nin would have just cut off Zabuza's head. Right?" "You're right," said Kakashi. "He should have cut off Zabuza's head and destroyed the body right there. But how do you know about the Kiri Civil War?" "I'm a ninja," deadpanned Naruto, as if that explained everything. Alright, is everyone okay? No injuries." Tazuna took a deep breath. "I'm fine," he said, giving a thumbs up. "That was a super fight." Sasuke relaxed, taking a long breath and trying to hide that he was doing so. "Dead last," said Sasuke in his high and mighty voice. "What was that technique, shadow clones? Teach it to me." Naruto shook his head. "You want to take this one, sensei?" Kakashi sighed. "Shadow clones are a B-rank forbidden technique. Sasuke, you don't have enough chakra to use shadow clones right now. If you tried it, best case, you'd end up with severe chakra exhaustion. Worst case, you could die." Sakura finally unfroze. Then, how come Naruto can perform it? She sounded a lot less confident than usual. "I'm a ninja," said Naruto, stopping Kakashi from giving a half answer. "And what is that supposed to mean, idiot?" demanded Sasuke. "It means I don't tell my secrets to people I don't trust and respect. And right now, the two of you fit in neither category." Sakura would have punched Naruto in the head, but she was still feeling out of it due to Zabuza's killing intent. "Then, how did you take out Zabuza's clones so quickly?" asked Sakura. "They just disappeared." "Let's just say it's something only shadow clones can do," stated Naruto. It was true. His shadow clones had simply kawarimi'd with the water clones' heads, which was almost a suicide technique because it left the clones' feet fused with the water clones' body, dispersing both clones. A normal ninja would require an incredible amount of chakra control to avoid fusing with the clone's body, like Tsunade-level chakra control, and it wasn't possible to use kawarimi with a real human being's head. On the other hand, it was very useful for identifying a real person and proving that the third Zabuza wasn't just another clone. And shadow clones were the only clone type that could perform ninjutsu, which allowed them to use a whole range of self-destructive techniques like this one. Naruto changed the subject by picking up Zabuza's giant cleaver blade from where his clone had left it after using kawarimi with the sword. "Kubikiribocho," he said, giving it a couple of experimental swings. "Interesting weapon, unfortunately not my style. I think I'll keep it anyway. Unless you want it, sensei?" Kakashi was surprised that Naruto could swing the sword like that. Either the sword was lighter than it looked, or Naruto was stronger than he appeared. "No," said Kakashi. "Not really my style either." "Okay," said Naruto. He pulled a storage scroll out of one of his pockets, unrolled it, and lay the sword on top of it. "Hold on," said Sakura. "Give it to Sasuke." Naruto snorted and hefted the giant blade by its center of gravity with one hand, offering the handle to Sasuke. "HN," said Sasuke. He had to look cool, so he tried to grab the sword with one hand. When Naruto let go of the sword, Sasuke dropped it on the ground, jumping back to keep it from landing on his toes. He couldn't even hold up one end of the sword. "So it's not that the sword is light," thought Kakashi. Naruto snickered, Let's just say Sasuke's. More of a speed-type fighter. Sakura, you want to try it too? Think you're stronger than Sasuke? Of course not, said Sakura. How do you think I'd look, swinging around an ugly thing like that? Ma, temporized Kakashi. Let's move on. Tazuna, we're about 20 minutes away from your house, right? Naruto grabbed the sword with one hand and sealed it into his storage scroll. Naruto thought Sasuke, how did you get so strong? That evening, Kakashi pulled Naruto aside. Do you know how long Zabuza will be out thanks to that seal? It's locked to my chakra signature, so it would take a real sealing master to outright remove the seal. The chakra I channeled into it for someone of Zabuza's strength should last at least a week, possibly two. The paralysis will wear off a couple days before the chakra disruption effects are completely gone. Good. Now, where did you learn the shadow clone technique? I read it in a book. Where did you get this book? The library. Here, I've got a copy. Naruto pulled out his father's book and showed it to Kakashi. The ignore me genjutsu took effect. Kakashi changed the subject. I think we'll do some training for the next week. Let's tell the team. How to be a ninja. By Minato Namikaze. Chapter 3. If you're not cheating, you're not a ninja. Ninja cheat, lie, steal, and use deception and stealth. That's what sets us apart from samurai. When you're up against an enemy, strike without warning when they least expect it. Use every advantage and every dirty trick you can to your maximum benefit. There's very little honor in war, and you have none to spare for your enemies. Section A. Uber Hacks, Shadow Clones. Shadow clones are, without exception, the greatest invention known to mankind. Here's why. The shadow clone jutsu is listed as a B-rank forbidden technique due to its chakra requirements. It divides your chakra evenly among the shadow clones you make. Each shadow clone is a physical, touchable construct made of your chakra. This has 3 effects. 1. Shadow clones can use ninjutsu. 2. After a shadow clone disperses, the remaining chakra returns to your body, bringing with it the memories of the clone's life. And 3. If you don't have enough chakra, using the shadow clone jutsu can give you extreme chakra exhaustion, or possibly even kill you. So, to learn the shadow clone jutsu, the first thing you need to do is raise your level of chakra reserves. See Chapter 8, How to Gain More Chakra, for more on this. You'll need at least high chunin level reserves in order to safely make a single shadow clone. In other words, when you can do the water-walking chakra control exercise at the same time as leaf sticking and kunai spinning, and hold all 3 of them for 1 hour straight without a break, you should have enough chakra for a shadow clone. Or you can just use a Fuinjutsu seal from the appendix of this book to find out how much chakra you have. Once you've learned shadow clones, you can use them to cheat with your training. Remember that second effect? It turns out that your shadow clones can learn practically anything, including reading books, learning ninjutsu and Fuinjutsu, even practice chakra control techniques, and their experiences will be transferred back to you. Once you have a significant number of shadow clones training this way, it totally feels like cheating, because you're learning many times faster than the average ninja can learn. And you can use them to help increase your chakra capacity. By dividing your chakra, you can exercise your body when you're mostly empty of chakra, increasing the rate at which you generate it. You can also make clones, wait until your chakra recovers, then disperse your clones. When your clones disperse, their chakra returns to your system, giving you a bit of an overload and stretching your chakra system. Kisame Hashigaki, one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, has a sword that uses the same principle to increase his chakra capacity. Beware that rapidly increasing your chakra capacity in this way will naturally reduce your chakra control, so be sure to keep doing those control exercises. With shadow clones, of course. One more thing. Ever hear about forbidden suicide techniques? Yeah, due to the fact that shadow clones can use ninjutsu, they can use almost all of the self-destructive forbidden jutsu out there. Just avoid anything that involves your soul. Now remember, this is a trade secret. If other ninja learn about this, it will eventually get to our enemies, which will result in stronger enemy ninja coming after us. Section B. When to be honorable. Honor actually does have its place for ninja. You need to be careful to distinguish between family, friends, allies, and enemies. Family are those you trust completely. Friends are those you trust and have respect for. Allies are those whom circumstances allow you to trust, but may not be trustworthy forever. Show honor to your family, friends, and allies, but not your enemies. You can tell your secrets to your family and friends, but not your allies. Tell nothing to your enemies. Don't get any ideas about slowing down to let your friends keep pace with you. At times, your friends will get curious about your secrets. The honorable way to handle this is to openly tell them that yes, you have secrets, but no, you're not going to tell them everything. If they're really your friends, they'll accept this. Chapter 4. Real ninja don't fight. Real ninja just win. Okay, kiddies, said Kakashi. Zabuza will be back in a week or two, and this time he'll most likely have an ally. We're going to do some training. Team 7 found a nice secluded spot in the forest near Tezuna's house. With a dramatic flourish, Kakashi announced, "I'm going to teach you how to climb trees." "But sensei," objected Sakura, "we can already climb trees. Even Naruto can climb trees." Kakashi raised an eyebrow, but ignored the last statement. "Ah, but can you do it like this?" He walked up the side of a tree on his feet, treating the vertical surface as if it were horizontal. He reached a thick branch and stood upside down on the underside of the branch. "Wow," said Sakura. "HN," said Sasuke. "Boring," said Naruto. "My way is better." "Well," Kakashi interrupted before Sasuke could comment, "why don't you show us, Naruto?" Sticking his hands in his pockets, Naruto jumped on the side of a tree, twisting his body so that he faced the ground. Still keeping his hands in his pockets, he moonwalked up the tree. "See? Much cooler." Said Kakashi. He somersaulted back to the ground, landing lightly. Then he copied Naruto moonwalking up the tree. "It's a bit more difficult, but I can do it too. And I look cooler doing it than you do." Sakura nodded enthusiastically. She definitely thought Kakashi looked cooler. Naruto cartwheeled gracefully back to the ground. Kakashi cartwheeled gracefully back to the ground. "Copycat," pouted Naruto. "Copy Nin," stated Kakashi. "Alright, Sakura, Sasuke, start by going forwards. Best to start with a bit of a run. Use a kunai to mark your progress. The way this works is you send some chakra to the bottoms of your feet to stick to the tree." "Kakashi-sensei?" asked Naruto. "Since I already know this exercise, can I go work on something else?" "Sure," said Kakashi. "Just be back at Tezuna's house in time for dinner." Naruto walked off to the sounds of "Hey, this is easy" from Sakura and an intensely jealous Isshin from Sasuke. When he was completely out of sight, Naruto's chakra pulsed, and a group of animals appeared out of nothing. Squirrels, chipmunks, field mice, sparrows, finches, and crows scampered, ran and flew in all directions. Several of the transformed shadow clones headed straight for the former daimyo's mansion, while others began a search pattern that would give Naruto a thorough survey of the island of Wave within hours. Naruto himself used the transformation jutsu to turn into an ordinary middle-aged civilian and started walking through the main town to get a feel for the place. There was no way he was going to do any real training out in the open where someone could see him. That evening, Team 7 met in Tezuna's house. Sakura looked completely worn out, having been told she needed to keep practicing until she could walk backwards all the way up and down the tree 10 times without stopping. Sasuke looked extremely annoyed to the point that he wanted to smash something with his fist. Kakashi looked amused, though whether that was because of his student's behavior or because of his choice of reading, no one could tell. Naruto looked satisfied. "Fruitful day, Naruto?" asked Kakashi. "Yeah," answered Naruto. "Got a lot done." "Oh? What did you work on?" Kakashi was curious about what stage Naruto's training was at. "This and that." Naruto deflected. Apparently Kakashi was even more curious to see what was on the next page of his book. At this point, Tezuna's grandson Inari interrupted. Why do you work so hard? It's not like it's gonna be any use. What do you mean? Asked Naruto. Gado's too strong. You're all going to die anyway. What's the point in trying? And what makes you think we're not stronger than Gado? Gado's got hundreds of men. He'll just have you killed if you get in his way. I see. Well, Inari, right? Naruto reached into a pocket and pulled out a small scroll. Instead of answering the question, Inari just glared. Naruto unsealed something from the scroll. It was a smooth mahogany cane with a fancy gold handle and a large ruby set in the top. Inari, do you know what this is? A walking stick? What does that have to do with anything? It's not a walking stick, it's a cane. Pimp cane. More specifically, this is Gado's pimp cane. Naruto handed the cane to the 5-year-old boy. Tazuna and Tsunami's eyes widened. Inari examined the cane. You see, explained Naruto. I stole this cane from Gado while he was holding it, leaning on it in fact. I replaced it with a fake, and he didn't even notice. He still hasn't noticed. And that's not all. The fake I gave him is special. It's a spy cane. It'll let me know everything that Gado says, hears, and does until the cane is lost or broken. Tazuna, Tsunami, Sasuke, and Sakura were gaping by now. Kakashi was probably gaping too, but no one could tell because of his mask. Inari was stubborn, though. So, how's that gonna help? It's not like the cane makes you stronger than Gado. Ah, but that's the trick. Real ninja don't fight. Real ninja just win. We don't need to be stronger than Gado and all his men to beat him. Now here's the good part. Kakashi-sensei, I'd like to propose a plan. Go ahead. Tonight, when my spy cane tells me that Gado is asleep and his base is quiet for the night, we sneak in and release sleeping gas into the ventilation system. When everyone is good and knocked out, we just walk in and collect all the weapons belonging to his thugs. We steal all of Gado's cash, which he has a lot of, because his illegal activities mostly generate cash. We hand out all the weapons and most of the money to the villagers. We take a couple of money bags and plant them in the house where Zabuza and his friend are staying. When Gado wakes up and discovers he's been robbed, the first thing he'll do is run to the ninja he hired. And Zabuza and his friend will either get caught and have to fight Gado, or they'll wake up first, find the money, figure out what's going on, and abandon Gado. Either way, we win. And I don't think the thugs will be quite so tough when they're facing their own weapons in the hands of the angry villagers. And what if Zabuza's friend catches us sneaking into their house? Asked Kakashi. I've already got a shadow clone transformed into a bug hiding under Zabuza's bed. Pretty certain I can release a sleeping gas without anyone noticing. They have a few traps, but they should be easy to get around without anyone monitoring them. Alright, Naruto, we'll go with your plan. We'll head out an hour after sunset. So, Inari, still think it's useless to go against Gado? Inari shook his head. Can I come? Naruto chuckled. Sorry, kid. There's a chance that some of the thugs will be out on patrol or something and won't get caught by the sleeping gas. We're ninja, we can easily handle a couple of thugs, but it's not so easy to fight and protect you at the same time. That reminds me, actually, most of us should henge into Zabuza, and one of us should henge into his friend, so if we are seen, we can pin the blame on them. We already know Zabuza likes using clones, so it won't be out of character if 3 Zabuzas show up. The next morning, Gado was sleeping fitfully when one of his underlings rushed into his bedroom shouting, Boss! Boss! Wake up! We've been robbed! The midget gangster/businessman woke up feeling rather chilly. He rolled over, wondering where his comfy blanket had gone, rubbed his eyes, and growled, What is it, Zora? Then he blinked. What the hell? Zori, why are you in your skivvies? We've been robbed, boss. Everyone is in their skivvies, including you. All our weapons are gone, and the storeroom's been broken into. The money's gone. That got Gado's attention. What? He roared. He jumped out of bed, absently noting that he was, indeed, wearing only his boxers and an undershirt, instead of the silk pajamas he had put on last night, and his bed covers were indeed missing. He rushed out of the room faster than you could imagine, only stopping to collect his trusty pimp cane on the way in case he had to beat some of his stupider employees. "Nu, my money, all my precious Rio, and my beloved American Girl doll collection." Gato fell to his knees and beat his fists on the ground of the empty storeroom. All of the thugs within earshot sweat dropped. American doll collection? Maybe he meant those freaky plastic Barbie dolls that had made their way from outside the elemental countries? Let it be noted that there wasn't a single woman among Gato's employees, and none of the men had daughters, so it was unlikely that any of them knew anything about dolls. Boss. What is it, Waraji? And put on a shirt. You're wearing even less than the rest of my minions. Waraji, a big muscular man with tattoos, never wore a shirt. He didn't even own one. Ironically, he looked less uncomfortable with his current attire than most of the other thugs did. Boss, should we call the police? Gato looked at Waraji strangely. Zora slapped Waraji on the back of the head. Idiot! We killed the police, remember? Oh, right. Another mercenary had something to say. Boss, some of the patrols said they were knocked out by those ninja you hired. Zabuza and his little friend. Haku, I think. Gato's face turned red. Steam poured out of his ears. He roared, I'm gonna kill those damn thieving bastards. Follow me. Raising his pimp cane, Gato rushed towards the house Zabuza and Haku had commandeered. On the waterfront, on the other side of town, barefoot, in his skivvies. The villagers peeked out their windows to watch a fuming Gato lead his entire collection of half-naked, unarmed thugs through the middle of town at a speed that was sprinting for Gato's short legs and a half-jog for most of his followers. Gato didn't notice the camera flashes, but some of his men did, and cringed. Haku woke up to the sound of almost 100 bare feet slapping the ground as Gato and his thugs rushed towards their house. Looking out the window, Haku saw the angry faces and quickly used chakra to pull some water from the nearby ocean and form 2 ice swords. The androgynous ninja stood in front of the bed where Zabuza lay, still paralyzed, as Gato burst through the door waving his cane. You! Screamed the midget. You stole my money. You've cracked, stated Zabuza, who was awake but still paralyzed. We haven't been in your mansion since last week, said Haku. Don't lie. You were seen. Boss. What is it, Waraji? Waraji pointed at a couple of green sacks with Rio signs pasted on them. Aha! Proof. Men, kill, Urk. Haku struck. In the space of a heartbeat, Gato and the 3 thugs who had made it through the door were dead. In the next heartbeat, Haku threw 1 ice sword into the bathroom where it sliced off the sink faucet, sending a spray of water into the air. 2 more heartbeats and Haku had finished a set of hand seals, shooting a barrage of ice sanbon, taking down the men who were trying to enter the room and spraying the defenseless mercenaries outside with the knitting needle-sized weapons. Then the villagers attacked. Headed by Inari and Tsunami, with Team 7 disguised as civilians, a mob armed with all manner of swords, rakes, shovels, and even pots and pans descended on Gato's already cringing army. One of the thugs saw fit to state, Hell man, I ain't sticking around here no more. He turned and fled for the docks, the rest of Gato's half-naked former employees on his heels, all chased by the angry mob. Once Gato's remaining men had fled the country on a few of the dead man's ships, Team 7 returned to Tezuna's house. Kakashi pulled out his orange book, leaned against a wall, and started reading. Naruto disappeared upstairs. Inari shouted, That was awesome! Hey Naruto, what you doing? And followed Naruto upstairs. Tsunami smiled, went into the kitchen and started preparing breakfast. Sasuke said, HN, and sat down at the dining room table to wait for breakfast. Tazuna followed suit, without the HN. Sakura couldn't take it. She shouted, Why is everyone so calm? We just, destroyed Gato and his entire army like it was nothing, and we're just sitting down to eat breakfast like it didn't happen. Tazuna chuckled, Well, It was a really super plan Naruto came up with, and I guess he did some really super sneaking yesterday. He's quite a super ninja, isn't he? Sakura took a deep breath and thought for a minute. I guess. It's just strange. Naruto has always been this stupid idiot. He's the dead last of our class, you know. It's surprising that he was the one to come up with this. And, Sakura continued, he spent all of yesterday spying on Gato and Zabuza. I thought he was training. And then there's that shadow clone technique. Where did he learn that? It definitely wasn't in the academy. And what's he doing now? Hiding from us. Sasuke, she turned to her remaining teammate. Has Naruto always been this mysterious? HN. Sasuke shrugged, drawing out the grunt in a way that meant, I dunno. Naruto, said Sasuke, fight me. It was the day after the victory over Gato, and Sasuke had finally finished mastering the tree-walking exercise. Naturally, once he mastered it, he proved that he had far more chakra than Sakura, and could walk up and down a tree 30 times without stopping, while Sakura could barely manage 10. While Team 7 had, in practice, completed the mission to protect Tazuna by removing the threat to his life, they were still contracted to provide bodyguard services until the bridge was finished. So they had to stick around for another 2 weeks or so. Strangely, a huge bridge like this would only take a total of 1.5 months to build. Tazuna had heard tales of a bridge in a far-off place across the ocean called San Francisco, where they had built a bridge, not much longer than the Wave one, that took them an entire 4 years to complete. He couldn't explain why there was such a huge difference in building speed. It's not like they were using chakra powers to build the wave bridge. He'd met one sea captain who blamed it on unions, but Tazuna couldn't imagine what pipe fittings had to do with a bridge, nor why they inspired such disgust in the sea captain. In any case, Team 7 had to stick around. They took turns standing watch at the bridge while Tazuna was there, and today Kakashi assigned Sakura to guard duty, which meant Sasuke and Naruto were free for training or sparring. Why do you want to fight me? Asked Naruto. Sasuke almost lost his temper. So we can see who's stronger. Ooh-hoo, said Naruto. You want to spar. It's very different from a fight. TCH. Whatever. You coming? What's in it for me? What? Sasuke gaped. He thought Naruto would jump at the chance to test his strength. I said, what's in it for me? Why would I want to spar with you? Sasuke thought a bit. Practice, he declared. You can practice getting your butt hooped. Naruto snorted. I'm good, thanks. Kakashi, however, had different ideas. Naruto, it'll be good for teamwork. If you spar with each other, you'll learn about each other's fighting styles, so you can coordinate better in a real fight. Naruto pouted. Fine. Sensei, will you judge? Someone has to drag you two back here when you get knocked out. Okay, chirped Naruto, suddenly cheerful. Same place where you learned tree walking. See ya there. He dashed out the door. 5 minutes later, Sasuke and Kakashi arrived to find Naruto lying in a hammock slung in the center of the clearing, attached to 2 trees with rope. Kakashi stopped at the edge of the clearing. Naruto, growled Sasuke, stomping towards the hammock. We're supposed to fight, not sleep. Whoosh! A snare caught Sasuke by the feet and strung him upside down from a tree branch. Sasuke screamed. Girlishly, Naruto sat up in the hammock and snapped a picture. This is how I fight, said Naruto. Sasuke flung a kunai at Naruto. It was surprisingly well aimed, considering the position he threw it from. While Naruto deflected the kunai, Sasuke cut himself down from the snare. Sasuke threw a handful of shuriken at Naruto. Naruto simply lay down in the hammock and let the throwing stars bounce off the bottom of the hammock. Looks like that hammock was woven with steel or something. Ah, this is the life. Slurp. Where did he get that lemonade from? Sasuke saw red. He charged Naruto again. The ground fell out from under him. There was a loud squelching sound as he hit the bottom and fell on his back. Ugh, what is this stuff? Naruto snapped his fingers, and a piece of string lowered from the canopy with a paper sealing tag on the end of it. It stopped above Sasuke's face. Boom, said Naruto. I win. Winner, Naruto, declared Kakashi. Fine, you win. Now get me out of here. Okay, said Naruto far too cheerfully. A pungent liquid burst out of the paper sealing tag. On the upside, it dissolved the goop that had Sasuke trapped. Naruto had another embarrassing photo, and it had a delightful orangey citrus scent. On the downside, Sasuke was now soaked. The delightful orangey citrus scent was incredibly overpowering, and the remains of the goop combined with the liquid were rather sticky. So when Sasuke climbed out of the dirt hole, he would be covered in brown muck. JCK, spluttered Sasuke. He climbed out of the hole, fuming. What the hell was that? What do you mean? Asked Naruto, seemingly nonplussed. I want a real fight. Whatever. Not a stupid trapped obstacle course. I told you, this is how I fight. You weren't fighting. You were just lying in that stupid hammock. Get out of that thing and fight me. Wait, you mean like two people rushing at each other and taking shots at each other with swords or knives or jutsu and blocking and dodging and all that crap? Yes, finally the dead last gets it. Go find a samurai. Remember what I said 2 days ago to Inari? Real ninja don't fight. Real ninja just win. And I just won. Fine, be that way. How about another round? If you don't give up right now, I'll put up poster-sized prints of these photos all over Konoha. Growling. Hey, cheer up. I've got another lemonade. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Sasuke headed in the direction of the shore, hoping to get rid of the filth covering him before anyone else saw him. I promise, it's not poisoned or pranked. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Kakashi-sensei, want a lemonade? Kakashi approached gingerly, using his Sharingan to look for traps. 2 weeks later, Team 7 finally headed back to Konoha. This time using the tree climbing skills Sasuke and Sakura had just learned to jump through the trees in a straight line towards their hidden village, meaning everybody and their mother knew where it was. Suddenly, Kakashi called, "Halt! We've got company." Zabuza Momochi landed on a tree limb ahead of them. Beside him, Haku Yuki landed on another tree limb, this time not wearing a hunter-nin mask. Zabuza was carrying an oversized katana, obviously one that formerly belonged to one of Gado's mercenaries. "Hataki," said Zabuza, "that was a mighty fine trick you pulled getting Gado to attack us. We appreciate the money, but I want my sword back." "Huh? Your sword?" "Kakashi-sensei, I'm pretty sure he means that oversized meat cleaver he used to fight us last time. What was it called? The Kyubi Butcher." Kakashi choked. "Whatever," continued Naruto. "I'm the one that beat you last time. I kept the sword, and I'm not giving it back. You were on a mission to kill an innocent man, which means you have to accept the risk of losing your life. The life of your apprentice Haku here." Naruto nodded at Haku. "Or anything else precious to you. Part of the business. It's Kubikirabocho, and if I say I'll kill you if you don't give it back." "Why, Zabuza, are you looking for a fight?" Naruto looked way too nonchalant about this. Zabuza drew his katana. Kakashi tensed to block Zabuza. Naruto made a single one-handed seal. Zabuza froze, shouted a curse word, and toppled bonelessly off the branch he was about to leap from. "Master Zabuza!" cried Haku, diving to catch said swordmaster. Naruto?" queried Kakashi. "What did you just do?" "Remember the paralysis and chakra disruption seal I put on him the first time we fought? Yeah, they never actually removed the seal, they just waited for the chakra to wear out. Which means I could easily activate it the same way I did the first time." While Kakashi snickered and Sakura and Sasuke looked confused, Naruto called, "Haku!" Haku, who had managed to catch Zabuza, looked up from the forest floor. "There's a rather large rebellion movement in Kiri headed by a lady called Mei Terumi. seeking to overthrow Yagura and stop the bloodline massacres. I think you and Zabuza would be interested in joining forces, no? Haku looked surprised, very surprised. We'll check it out. Thank you, Naruto. Haku flickered away, carrying Zabuza over one shoulder. Naruto, Sakura spoke up. I have a question. They had just entered Konoha and were on their way to the Hokage Tower to make their report. Yes, Sakura? You had one of those shadow clones spying on Zabuza and Haku for days, right? Yup. I had one transformed into a bug hiding under Zabuza's bed. Then after Haku killed Gato, the clone I had transformed into Gato's pimp cane was there as well. Here's the question. Was Haku a boy or a girl? I don't know, shouted Naruto, pulling at his hair. I didn't want to actually peek on Haku in the bathroom, and Haku didn't change clothes in the bedroom, 'cause Zabuza was there. Haku looks like Haku has a girl's face, but Haku doesn't seem like Haku has any girl parts. But I can't tell for sure because Haku always wore these girly pink fluffy pajamas, and Haku's kimono just covers everything, and Zabuza doesn't talk much. But when he did, he never, ever said anything to indicate what Haku's gender was. You might have noticed I never use any pronouns when talking about Haku. It's so frustrating, and I didn't want to just ask, 'cause that'd be rude. If Haku turned out to be a boy, it'd be like calling him a girly boy, and if Haku turned out to be a girl, it'd be like saying she doesn't look pretty enough, which is totally not true. And then Haku could be a boy pretending to be a girl, or a girl pretending to be a boy, and whatever answer Haku gives could be a lie anyway. Really? You think Haku is pretty? That's what you got out of my rant? Yeah. Isn't it obvious? Sasuke, Haku is relatively pretty, right? HN. It was a rather ambiguous grunt. See, even Sasuke thinks Haku is pretty, and I've never ever heard Sasuke compliment a girl before. Sakura was not happy at this revelation, for multiple reasons mostly involving her ego, but she hid it well and said teasingly, So, you could both be crushing on a boy? ARRRJH, screamed Naruto. HN, is that a bad thing? Asked Sasuke, thinking Sakura might stop crushing on him if she thought he was gay. It was the biggest mistake of his life. YOI, squealed Sakura, loud enough that the birds in the forest on top of the Hokage mountain took flight in surprise. All the yaoi fangirls in Konoha, and the one yaoi fanboy, heard the battle cry, and came running to get the latest, juiciest rumor. Naruto, feeling a disturbance in the force, said, Sensei, I'll see you in the tower, and vanished so quickly that Kakashi would have sworn he used the Hiraishin if that were not completely impossible. The fangirls came from all directions, hemming in Kakashi and Sasuke. Details, Sakura, details. Sakura pointed at Sasuke, but her voice was drowned out in the crowd. It's forbidden love, shouted one. But with who? Asked another. Somehow, one preteen girl put 2 and 2 together to get 6, and shouted, Sasuke and Kakashi, forbidden lure verve. Squee. Kakashi decided, then and there, to request another long C-ranked mission outside of the village. Hi Gramps, said Naruto, barreling into the Hokage's office. Naruto, you're back. Hiruzen was happy to see his surrogate grandson hadn't been negatively affected by the mission. Yup, mission success. Sensei and the team will probably be late though. They got attacked by yaoi fangirls. Hiruzen, Naruto, and the ANBU hiding in the room shuddered. Fangirls were scary. Yaoi fangirls were even scarier. Well, how did it go? Asked Hiruzen. I got a new toy. Wanna see it? Sure. Let's see this new toy. Naruto pulled out a giant cleaver blade and waved it around. I stole it from a guy called Zabuza. I think he called it Kyuubi Butcher or something, which is strange because I don't think the Yondaime used it when he killed the Kyuubi. But anyway, this sword is really cool. Hiruzen choked. I think it's Kubikirabocho, Naruto. You say you ran into Zabuza Momochi on your mission. Yeah. He was all like, Gar. And Kakashi-sensei was like, Jarrr. And then Zabuza made some clones, and then I made some clones. And then one of my clones used Kawarimi with his sword and kicked him in the ass. And that's how I got the sword. That's a very unusual use of Kawarimi, said Hiruzen, shocked. Kawarimi was a defensive jutsu. It was meant for escaping attacks. Nobody used it as an attack. And did he say his clone performed the Kawarimi? Did Kakashi teach him the shadow clone? It did make sense after all. Naruto had plenty of chakra thanks to his status as a Jinchuriki. Aha! Said Naruto, brushing it off. And then we pranked Gato and blamed it on Zabuza and Haku, and Gato attacked Haku, and that didn't go so well for Gato, and then we chased all Gato's men out of town in their skivvies, and I got pictures. Wanna see? That sounds like a rather wild tale, Naruto. May I see these pictures? Naruto pulled out a storage scroll from one of his pockets and unsealed a small stack of photos, which he handed to the Hokage. The first photo was of an infuriated Gato, leading his men through the middle of town in their undershirts and underwear, brandishing his fancy cane. The next photo was of Gato's army crowded around Zabuza and Haku's small house, with ice needles flying out the doorway. The third photo was of the villagers waving swords and pickaxes and various other implements chasing the thugs in their underwear. Finally, there were several photos of the holds of Gato's ships, with Gato shipping labeled on the boxes. Inside were tons of illegal drugs. Other photos showed shackles and chains, clearly indicating that Gato was involved in human trafficking at some point. I figured you could send those photos to anyone who wants to know why Gato's not around anymore. I see. That's quite an achievement, Naruto. And who came up with this plan? I did, of course. I'm the prank king. Naruto struck a pose. That was when Kakashi and Sasuke limped into the room. Kakashi looked like a mess. His mask was ripped halfway down one side. His forehead protector was on backwards. His vest was unzipped. He was altogether rather scuffed up, and his normal gravity-defying hair was braided into cornrows. Sasuke looked traumatized. His clothes were askew, one sandal was missing, and his normal duck-butt hairstyle was lopsided and drooping. He had lipstick on his cheek, and a look of absolute horror on his face. Naruto, said Kakashi, his voice hoarse. You abandoned us. Naruto just snickered and snapped a photo. That evening, a knock came on the door of the house where Mei Terumi was staying with some of her advisors. I'll get it, Lady Mei, said Chojiro. Whirlwind postal delivery for Mei Terumi, said a man in a delivery uniform. He had one of those totally forgettable faces. Lady Mei? Yes, that's me, said Mei from behind Chojiro. Where do you want me to unseal this? It's about 8 feet long, asked the delivery man. Right here in the entryway should be fine, said Mei, pulling Chojiro out of the way. Chojiro blushed when she put her hand on his shoulder. The delivery man unsealed a huge cleaver blade on the floor. Is that Kubikirabocho? Asked Mei. Have a nice day, miss, said the delivery man blandly, as if it were nothing out of the ordinary. As he turned and left, they read the message on the back of his delivery uniform jacket. Whirlwind Postal. We deliver anywhere to anybody. Speedy, safe and confidential. It's the real thing, announced Ao, coming into the room and inspecting the sword with the Byakugan under his eye patch. There's an envelope tied to the handle. Looks safe. Let's see what it says. She opened the envelope with a kunai and pulled out a note. Dear Miss Terumi, I expect that Zabuza Momochi and his apprentice, Haku Yuki, will join up with your army within a month or so. If he does not, I'm sure you can find someone else worthy of wielding this sword. If he does, tell him to remember secret ninja rule number 0. A friend. What's secret ninja rule number 0? Asked Chojiro. Ao growled. It's an old saying they used to have in Kiri, back in the days before the Second Ninja War. It goes, don't fuck with the Uzumaki. How to be a ninja. By Minato Namikaze. Chapter 4. Real ninja don't fight. Real ninja just win. Ninja fight in the shadows. Samurai fight in the daylight. The ideal ninja is one who achieves all his objectives in the easiest way possible, and usually that means without fighting. Ninja who fight only with chakra and physical strength is only using a small part of their potential. There are lots of forms of power. Use them all to become the most successful ninja you can be. Of course, there will be situations where you'll be confronted with someone who you weren't able to take out before they attack you. Ambushes, straight-up wars, surprises, stuff like that. In this case, it's important that you don't engage in a fair fight. Find a way to cheat. Lay traps, use last-minute blackmail, bluff your way out, fight dirty. And as a last resort, use an incredibly overpowered S-rank jutsu like Hiraishin to lay the beatdown without giving them a chance to blink. See Chapter 9 for details on the Hiraishin. Chapter 5. A little bit of everything. Mizuki, Chunin instructor of Konoha's Shinobi Academy, hid in the attic of an elderly merchant's house as he scoped out the Hokage Tower. Perfect, he thought as he watched the 3 genin of Team 7 leave after their debriefing and go their separate ways. Now that the demon brat is back in town, I can move forward with my plans. He vanished into the shadows as he followed Naruto back to his apartment. Sasuke went back to the extensive Uchiha clan training grounds and started practicing his fire jutsu and shuriken jutsu. He couldn't be bothered to think about anyone other than himself. Sakura, Sakura, Ino shout-whispered, grabbing Sakura's arm as Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto left the Hokage Tower. Ino shot Sasuke a half-shifty, half-flirty look that should have been impossible. Sakura, we need to talk. Sakura complied, and the two of them went off to a restaurant to talk and eat, which was rare nowadays for the somewhat former friends/rivals. So, demanded Ino, is it true? Is what true? Sakura asked, pretending she didn't know. Is Sasuke, you know? Sakura looked conflicted. Wait a minute, Sakura? The pinkette looked guilty. You started the rumor that Sasuke is gay. Sakura broke. She giggled. And having hot yaoi makeout sessions with Kakashi-sensei? I didn't come up with the Kakashi pairing, but the gay part. You know I'm not into that stuff, snapped Ino. She wasn't a yaoi fangirl, just a Sasuke fangirl. She had heard the rumor secondhand. Why? Well, it's a long story. Spill, commanded Ino. You see, we were on our first C-rank mission, and there was this enemy Nin. Sakura told Ino all about Haku and Haku's infuriating androgyny. And then Sasuke said, would that be so bad? So it was kind of, he didn't really say he liked boys, but he kind of hinted it. And I got thinking, and it's yaoi and just, you know. So you don't actually know? Darn, I really hope he's not gay. Sakura sighed. Yeah, I guess. Then she brightened. Sasuke didn't seem to like it when that yaoi fanboy kissed him. He was all like, ugh. And she made an exaggerated grimace to show Sasuke's reaction. So, he's not? Thank Kami. Not that I'm against gay people. But, you know, it's Sasuke dear. And Ino sighed. Sakura frowned. Yeah. It's just, I guess I got jealous, and Sasuke and Naruto were talking about Haku like that, and I just had to get them back. Ino and Sakura spent a few minutes just eating their low-calorie meals before Sakura came up with another topic. Ino, she started, has Naruto always been so mysterious? She wiggled her fingers to emphasize the last word. Mysterious? Echoed Ino. You mean Sasuke, he's the mysterious type. No, I mean Naruto. Did you see what he was wearing earlier? Ino considered. Wait, that hunky boy next to Sasuke was Naruto? Hunky? Sakura looked like the cat that caught the canary. Naruto hunky? Does this mean you're giving up on Sasuke? Cut it out, you know what I mean. He was wearing, not orange. Yeah, exactly. He was wearing, not orange. And he doesn't tell us anything about himself. And when we fought Zabuza, he knew a clone jutsu that we weren't taught in the academy. And even though Zabuza couldn't have been very strong, Naruto knocked him out so quickly. And Naruto was so serious for the first half of the mission. I mean, he's still goofy and stupid, but it's like he can turn it off sometimes. And when Kakashi-sensei was teaching us tree climbing, Naruto already knew it, but Sasuke didn't. I can't believe Naruto knew something Sasuke didn't. That's impossible. Sasuke knows everything. Wait, tree climbing? But everyone knows how to climb trees. Forehead. Your sensei doesn't teach you anything either, does he? Ino shook her head and huffed. It's a chakra control exercise, explained Sakura. You walk up a tree on just your feet, using your chakra to stick to the tree. And I meant what I said. After Kakashi-sensei showed us the tree climbing, Naruto freaking moonwalked up the tree like some horribly flashy 80s pop star. I tried that after I learned regular tree walking. It's a lot more difficult to do it moonwalking. You have to concentrate chakra into the toe of the foot that's not moving while completely cutting off the chakra to the foot that's sliding backwards, know what I mean? Ino looked like she was barely managing to follow along, but nodded anyway. And then, continued Sakura, Naruto was the one who came up with the plan to get rid of Gato. That little boy Inari was all gloomy and, you're all gonna die, Gato's gonna kill you. But Naruto tells everyone that he spent the entire day spying on Gato and Zabuza and he says, real ninja don't fight, real ninja just win. And then Naruto tells Kakashi-sensei this whole plan that actually sounded clever. At first I thought he was just trying to upstage Sasuke, but Kakashi-sensei went with it and it actually worked. So what are you saying? That Naruto's been hiding stuff from us? Yes, Naruto's been hiding stuff from everyone. It's like I don't even know who he is anymore. Ino chewed her food for a minute. You know what this means, right? We must investigate, declared Ino, dramatically stabbing her salad fork in the air. We'll get down to the bottom of this. We'll stalk his friends, we'll shadow him from the shadows, we'll figure out what he reads, if he reads anything at all. We'll find out who he likes and who likes him. We'll learn where he eats and what he eats. If he's mysterious, we'll demystify him. Ino got that crazed Yamanaka rumor-hunting look on her face, struck a pose, and shouted, Information wants to be free. Sakura shook her head. Then she smiled, jumped up, and grabbed Ino in a hug. It's good to have you back, Ino. Ino nodded and hugged Sakura back. It's good to have you back too, Sakura. Then Ino broke the hug and said, Sasuke's still mine though. No way, Ino pig. Sasuke's all mine. Just then, an orange blur ran past the front of the restaurant. Ramen. I've missed you, Databeo. Ino and Sakura looked at each other and laughed. Boys, they said in unison. Hiruzen Sarutobi had long been one of the sharpest minds in the village, and this fact did not dull in his old age. After dismissing the 3 genin of Team 7, he asked their Jonin sensei to stay. Kakashi straightened up, his clothing falling into place and the rip in his mask suddenly vanishing. The cornrows stayed, though. So, Kakashi, what's this I hear about you letting Naruto fight an A-ranked missing nin by himself? Kakashi was sweating. It wasn't. I didn't. I told the team to protect the client. I challenged Zabuza, we both released our killing intent, you know how it goes. Then one of the kids, I'm not sure if it was Naruto or Sasuke, used a powerful wind jutsu to clear Zabuza's mist. And Naruto just... It reminded me of watching Minato-sensei fight, you blink and it's over. Except Naruto didn't even move. From Naruto's description of the fight, said Hiruzen, he used shadow clones. He said he had one of them Kawarimi with Zabuza's sword. Yes, a very creative use of Kawarimi. He created 3 shadow clones and 2 of them destroyed Zabuza's water clones. I didn't even see how they did it. The third used the Kawarimi with Zabuza's sword and slapped a paralysis and chakra disruption tag on the back of Zabuza's neck. Naruto activated it, and that was it. How long did it take him to learn the shadow clone jutsu? I assume you taught him. Kakashi looked confused. No, I didn't teach him. I thought you had taught him. Maybe he watched one of the other Jonin perform the technique. Apparently the Ignore Me genjutsu on that book was very good. Possibly, said Hiruzen. There are a number of Jonin who know the shadow clone jutsu, and he could have gotten the ceiling tag at one of the more specialized stores. Has he exhibited any other unusual behavior? Well, he seems to know a lot about what's going on in Kiri. He told Zabuza's apprentice the rebel leader's name, Mei Terumi. Once again, Hiruzen was surprised. That's not public knowledge. Jiraiya's spies reported her name years ago, but we never told anyone, not even the Shinobi Council. And as far as I know, Jiraiya hasn't been in contact with Naruto. I suppose he could have overheard it from that Whirlwind employee he mentioned at the start of the mission. Whirlwind Postal. New company showed up around a year and a half ago. They have an office in Midtown. They specialize in high-speed long-distance deliveries of letters and small packages. We deliver anywhere, to anybody, speedy, safe and confidential. That's their motto. Doesn't that cut into our ninja missions escorting scrolls and the like? Asked Kakashi. I thought the same, but there's nothing I could do about it. They're a civilian business and not a direct threat to our security. And it turns out the business from C-ranked escort missions has actually doubled in terms of profits since Whirlwind started up. We lost a lot of scroll delivery missions, but we actually gained a large number of personal escort missions, which, as you know, pay more than scroll deliveries. It seems that better long-distance communication causes people to travel more. Interesting. Well, I suppose if they really deliver to anywhere in the elemental countries, they would have to know the general state of places like Kiri. Is Terumi's name general knowledge in Kiri? Yes, it is, said Hiruzen. The Mizukage posted a rather large bounty on her. I suppose that explains Naruto's knowledge. Have you considered sending someone undercover as an employee of Whirlwind? It sounds like it would be useful to learn what information they have on other countries, even if only to learn how much they know. That's a good idea. Thanks for the suggestion. Now back to Naruto. How strong is he? He managed to take out a Jonin-level missing nin using a single high-level ninjutsu and a couple of tricks. How are his other skills coming along? Taijutsu? Shuriken and kunai throwing? Stealth? Chakra control? Any progress on genjutsu? Kakashi rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. His chakra control seems to be good. He already knew the tree climbing exercise when I taught it to the others. Where did he learn that? He said he read it in a book. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow again. Naruto? Read a book. That's what he said. Okay. What about taijutsu and the other skills? I don't know. Kakashi. I've been focusing on their teamwork. I've been acting too serious, thought Naruto as he dashed toward Ichiraku's, now wearing his orange jumpsuit again. Kakashi is getting suspicious about my skills, and I certainly don't want to trust him with my secrets. He hasn't even tried to teach us a single thing other than tree climbing. Every ninja knows tree climbing. I've seen them using it since I first learned to spot the ninja dashing around Konoha on the rooftops. I mean, he's not the only Jonin sensei to slack off on training his students, but he takes it to an extreme. Not exactly behavior conducive to team loyalty. It's a good thing I managed to get to the Hokage and give Gramps a toned-down description of the mission and the confrontation with Zabuza. He might have gotten more curious if he only got Kakashi's shorthand report. I might like Grandpa Hokage, but there's no way I'm telling him all my secrets. He hasn't even admitted that he knew my parents, and he hasn't even hinted at the Kyuubi. For the Hokage, Konoha comes first, and most of Konoha really doesn't like me. Of course, my tail is certainly not good enough to be an ANBU ordered by Gramps to follow me. Whoever it is kind of sucks at stealth. I wonder who it is. That chakra signature feels familiar, low Chunin level. Good thing I'm already playing the village idiot act. Plastering a bright smile on his face, Naruto bounced toward his favorite ramen stand, shouting, "Ramen! I've missed you, Databeo." Ugh, though Mizuki, I don't know how some people don't see it. The fact that the brat can eat that much ramen at once is proof that he's not human. Well, we'll see who's laughing at the end of today. Now let's see where you're going next, demon. I need you to be in town, but I can't pull off my plan while you're in public. Mizuki dashed from one shadow to another as he followed Naruto to wherever he was going. After eating 20 bowls of ramen, Naruto went to his rundown apartment in the bad part of town, picked up a comic book, lounged on his ratty couch and started reading it. Or rather, his shadow clone did. Deep underground, Naruto walked into his training hall to start his physical training. When he noticed a couple of presences other than the hundreds of shadow clones practicing chakra control and ninjutsu. Shino, Shikamaru, it's been weeks since you've been down here. How's it been going? Shikamaru stopped bending his shadow and yawned. Troublesome. Heard you got back from your first C rank. We're still on D ranks. Shino stated, we thought once we got on Genin teams our Jonin senseis would start training us more seriously than we did in the academy. Logical, right? But it seems that's not the case. Shikamaru sensei is lazy enough to be a Nara, and Kurenai sensei just has us sparring with each other a couple times a day. Yeah, agreed Naruto. Kakashi sensei taught Sasuke and Sakura the tree climbing exercise. And that was it. He never did any other training or teaching. But there are Jonin senseis who do train their students. You've seen Might Guy, right? Both of Naruto's friends shivered. I don't think I've ever seen anyone more troublesome, said Shikamaru. Have to agree with you there, said Naruto. But the point is, he trains his genin all the time. They spend more time training than on missions. I suppose we'll have to just do our own training, like we always have, concluded Shino. Yeah, agreed Naruto. He thought back to the day Shino and Shikamaru had become his friends. Naruto had just turned 9. It was mid-October, 1 month after he had discovered the Yandame's book stashed in the library. He had done the math and decided that Minato Namikaze had to have been his father. He hadn't told anybody, but he had started training in secret. Over the last month, Naruto's progress was simultaneously frustrating and astounding. Frustrating because, as his father suggested, Naruto wanted to build an underground training ground, but he didn't know any earth jutsu for digging. There weren't any earth jutsu listed in the book, and there weren't any elemental jutsu at all in the academy library. Elemental chakra transformation was considered a Chunin level skill. On the other hand, objectively, Naruto's progress was amazing because he had gone through the chakra control exercises from leaf sticking to tree walking to water walking in the space of 1 month, and he had learned 2 of the 3 academy ninjutsu, henge and kawarimi. Currently, Naruto was under a very generic-looking henge, running sprints on top of a pond from one end to another, with several leaves sticking to his forehead and arms. He was trying to increase his control to the level where he could perform the academy bunshin, an illusionary clone which required a very small amount of chakra. Beads of sweat ran down his neck as he concentrated on outputting the right amount of chakra to each of the leaves at the same time as outputting a varying amount from his feet in order to stay atop the water. That was when 2 boys from Naruto's academy class walked up to the pond. Hey Naruto, said Shikamaru Nara, a skinny boy with a pineapple-style ponytail, waving his hand at the boy running on the water. Naruto lost his concentration and fell in the water, producing a big splash. Spluttering, he swam to the edge of the pond and climbed out. Hi, who are you two? Asked Naruto, still under the henge. We know it's you, Naruto, said Shino Aburame, a quiet short-haired brunette wearing a high-collared jacket and sunglasses in the style of his clan. Why? Because I tracked you with one of my Kikeichu, the Aburame clan's parasitic ninja beetles. Okay, you got me, it's me. Naruto dropped the henge. So, question, drawled Shikamaru. What is the class idiot doing practicing high-level chakra control exercises and mastering ninjutsu we won't learn in the academy until next year? Naruto sighed. Can you guys keep a secret? Both of them nodded. Okay. Basically, I'm hiding my skills so that people won't know what to expect from me when I become a ninja. My goal is to become a real ninja, someone who works in stealth and in secret, who uses deception as his greatest weapon. That's why I'm acting stupid and getting the lowest scores. Well, that and sometimes I'm just too tired after training and I fall asleep in class. Can you keep this a secret? Troublesome. Yes, said Shikamaru. That makes sense. Of course I can keep it a secret, said Shino. Good. So, question, said Naruto. What is the smartest guy in class doing getting the second lowest grades? Shikamaru groaned. Troublesome. Class grades don't mean anything in the real world. Why make the effort? Wanna train together? It turned out that Shino and Shikamaru weren't interested in doing anywhere near the same amount of training as Naruto. It helped that both of them were extremely non-competitive. Still, they trained with Naruto a couple of times a week. Naruto was rather annoyed to find that both of them learned the chakra control exercises faster than he did, though neither had anywhere near as much stamina as he did. We need a secret underground base where we can train in secret, said Naruto a month later, having finally mastered the bunshin and wanting to move on to the more interesting things his father came up with. Isn't that kind of overkill? Asked Shikamaru. Huh? Overkill? What's that? Asked Naruto quite seriously. Overkill, defined Shikamaru, spending too much effort on something that isn't worth it. Oh, then no, it's not overkill. I want to try some training methods that I really don't want anyone seeing. The problem is, we need some Earth-style jutsu in order to make an underground training room. I'll check my family's library to see if we have any Earth-style scrolls, said Shino. Likewise, sighed Shikamaru. I gotta start pranking higher-level ninja, said Naruto. Establish a cover before I start sneaking into places like the Chunin-only library, just in case I get caught. One day, in a hollowed-out training hall deep beneath Konoha, two root drones wearing white animal masks were sparring. Suddenly, pebbles started falling from the sandstone ceiling, and the two of them jumped back, falling into a defensive stance. The ceiling cracked open and a blond 9-year-old boy fell on his butt. He blinked and looked around. Hi, he said cheerily. I was digging. He smiled a broad smile at them, stood up and dusted off his pants, and made a few hand signs. See ya later, underground creature people, he chirped, and dove into the ground. The holes in the ceiling and floor closed up, leaving no trace that anything had ever happened. The two root drones blinked and looked at each other. Did that just happen? Asked one in a tone of voice that went against root regulations. I think so, said the other. He was funny. Then the anti-motion seals that all root ninja had tattooed on their skulls kicked in, and both of them forgot it ever happened. Note to self, thought Naruto as he dug horizontally after going down several meters. Figure out how to use Fuinjutsu to protect my base from random strangers using the earth release. Hiding like a mole jutsu. And that was how it started. So, said Naruto, now that we're all around 13 years old, we can start using lightweights and resistance seals without having to worry about stunting our growth. I'll take resistance seals, said Shikamaru. Like your dad wrote, speed is everything in a fight, and the seals are better for speed training. Oh yeah, Naruto had shared most of the contents of his father's book with his two friends. They couldn't read it, thanks to the powerful Genjutsu seal, and some things were private, but Naruto could certainly copy sections of the book by hand. I'm afraid I'll have to stick with weights, said Shino. My Kikeichu will interfere with the resistance seals. Okay, said Naruto. I'll be using seals as well. You guys up for a light taijutsu spar to get used to them? Taijutsu only. No chakra enhancement, declared Shikamaru. Pure taijutsu was Naruto's weakest area. At a young age, it would have been unwise to attempt the heavy strength training necessary to match top taijutsu and weapons users based on physical strength. Without enhancing his body with chakra, he was a fair match for his two best friends in a 2-on-1 taijutsu match. He had, after all, done far more practice than they. Of course, when Naruto compensated using large amounts of well-controlled chakra to enhance his body, it was no contest. And when he eventually multiplied his pure physical strength and speed through the new resistance seal training, there was no telling how far he could go. Naruto's clone, still lounging on his couch reading his comic book, felt his tail disappear. Wonder what he's up to? Well, he didn't find out anything about me. Then Naruto clone felt a couple of familiar chakra signatures approaching. Sakura and Ino. What are they doing in this part of town? They're just outside my window. I think they're spying on me. Naruto clone hid his devilish smirk behind his comic book. He discreetly took a deep breath, shifted his butt, and blew all that air out through his lips in a raspberry to simulate an enormous fart. Then he grunted, that's better. Sakura and Ino gagged. Phew, said Naruto clone, waving his comic book in front of his nose. Guess I need to air out this place. He walked over to the window as if to open it. Before he was halfway there, his enhanced hearing heard the sound of Ino and Sakura fleeing. When he reached the window, he looked out and saw something that would have made his blood freeze in his veins, if he had any. Mizuki snuck into the Hokage Tower, using a henge to impersonate Naruto. He had figured out all the traps and security around his goal months ago, and then his plans had been ruined when that demon brat managed to pass the exam. It had taken him months to come up with an alternate plan. No one saw him as he dodged between guards and painstakingly disabled or bypassed each trap before finally reaching the treasure. Oh, Orochimaru was going to be so pleased. As Mizuki picked up the forbidden scroll of seals and slung it on his back using a strap, he failed to notice something glowing on the shelf after he picked it up. Naruto, what are you doing? Mizuki jumped back in surprise when the Hokage himself stepped in front of him. Oh, right, I'm still wearing the face of the demon brat. Hey, who are you? Shouted a 9-year-old boy, running up. Are you trying to steal that scroll? I'll stop you. No, Konohamaru, get back. That isn't Naruto. It was too late. Konohamaru pulled out a wooden kunai and charged at Mizuki, who planted a fist in the little boy's gut, whipped out a real kunai, and held it to Konohamaru's neck. Let me go, or your grandson dies, threatened Mizuki. With a look of anger on his face, the Hokage backed off. Mizuki dashed out the window, still holding Konohamaru with the kunai at his neck. He raced through the streets of Konoha, still wearing Naruto's face. Naruto groaned. That was brutal. Shino groaned. His insects buzzed quietly. Shikamaru yawned. Naruto, what do you think? About getting some clouds down here? All three of them were lying on their backs after their first training spar with weights/seals. Shino groaned again. Shika, said Shino. Don't get him started on Fuinjutsu. It was too late. Well, started Naruto, I suppose I could design a physical light-reflecting genjutsu seal that makes the roof blue like the sky and puts clouds up there. But then there's a problem with distance perception. The clouds will look too close. A mind-affecting genjutsu to fix that would be annoying for anyone who can sense foreign chakra in their system. You know what would be ideal is if I could make the seal track the locations of everyone in the room and angle the photons at their eyes in just the right angles to make the clouds appear far away. But that would be like more complex than the 8 trigrams seal. Of course, we don't have to worry about ridiculously powerful chakra levels here, so it's not nearly as dangerous as the Kyuubi's seal. Naruto, interrupted Shino. Remind me again why you're our years dead last? And then I'd have to figure out how to make random-shaped clouds, which is going to be a rather interesting algorithm. Or maybe I could just copy the look of the sky outside, which would require a camera somewhere linked to the sky genjutsu. Actually, several cameras so we can get all angles of the sky. And probably a modified security seal to keep birds and bugs from landing on the cameras. But then what about the other weather? We don't want it to look like it's raining down here without actually getting wet. Probably need to store recordings of nice, partially cloudy days. Need a seal to recognize optimal weather patterns. Probably have to use one of my new deep neural network seals for that. Good thing I came up with that 3-dimensional seal technique, or I would literally have square miles of seals for every neural net. Shikamaru yawned loudly and pointedly. Right, said Naruto, jumping up energetically. I'll get some shadow clones on it. He produced 5 shadow clones who immediately dashed off through a tunnel to another part of their underground complex. Shino and Shikamaru decided to take a nap. That was when Naruto received a memory from the shadow clone in his apartment. I'll just duck into the alleyway here next to the demon brat's apartment, seal my treasure into a storage scroll, drop my henge, knock out the Hokage's grandson, and leave. Everyone will think it was the demon brat that stole the scroll. Even the Hokage himself will be hard-pressed to say otherwise, even if he felt my chakra signature. This was Mizuki's plan. Unfortunately for him, he didn't count on one thing. "Hey!" shouted Naruto, landing in the street in front of him. "I don't know who you are, but you're not me. And what are you gonna do about it? You're just a stupid genin who shouldn't have even passed the academy final. And in case you haven't noticed, I've got the Hokage's grandson here." He held up Konohamaru, who looked just about scared out of his pants. Naruto considered for a moment, extending his senses. Suddenly he realized who he was talking to. Interesting predicament. There's just one problem. Mizuki. Mizuki gaped. "How did you?" "Fine, you figured me out, but it's not gonna help you." He dropped the henge and held Konohamaru tighter. "You don't seem to understand your situation," said Naruto. "You see, that's not the Hokage's grandson." The boy under Mizuki's arm was engulfed in white smoke. When it cleared, what Mizuki was holding was a life-sized, spiky brown-haired, extremely creepy wooden puppet. The puppet's head creaked and jerked as it turned 180 degrees on its neck and stared into Mizuki's eyes with its painted face. "Mizuki! Mizuki!" said the puppet in a tinny girl's voice, as if coming from a speaker. "J.H.!" shouted Mizuki, dropping the puppet and kicking it into the side of a building. The puppet vanished in another puff of smoke. Naruto snickered. "And one more thing. Your stealth is terrible. You're even worse at stalking people than Hinata is." An eep came out of an alleyway somewhere down the road. "I'll kill you, Kyubi brat!" shouted Mizuki. He pulled out another kunai and rushed Naruto. "Hey Gramps!" called Naruto. "Any time now." The Hokage came down on Mizuki like a load of bricks. 2.5 seconds later, the traitor was a moaning heap of broken bones, and Hiruzen was holding the scroll of seals in one hand and his bow staff in the other. "Grandpa!" shouted Konohamaru, running out of Naruto's apartment building into his grandfather's arms. "Whoa!" said Ino. "See what I mean?" whispered Sakura. "Mysterious." Both of them had turned around at Naruto's shout and had seen the entire scene with Mizuki, as had dozens of other villagers. "He just rescued that kid. And where did he get that creepy puppet thing?" exclaimed Ino. "And was that Mizuki-sensei?" asked Sakura. Ino nodded. "It was. And he calls the Hokage Gramps. What does that mean?" "He seems to be really close to the Hokage for some reason," explained Sakura. "It's not the first time I've seen Naruto call Lord Hokage Gramps or Old Man. At first I thought he was being disrespectful, but the Hokage just smiled at Naruto. But I don't know why." "Mysteriouser and mysteriouser," said Ino. "You know what this means, right?" Nodded Sakura. "More investigation." While Ino and Sakura were acting like, well, 12-year-olds, Hiruzen led Konohamaru and Naruto back to the Hokage Tower, where he replaced the scroll of seals and reactivated security, then led them back to his office. "Naruto, I owe you my thanks," said Hiruzen. "Konohamaru tells me you got him out of danger even before you jumped in front of Mizuki." Yeah, no problem." Naruto rubbed the back of his neck in embarrassment. "I take it you used the same method as you used on Zabuza? A shadow clone with a Kawarimi?" Naruto nodded. "Interesting touch with the henge." "Yeah," said Konohamaru from where he sat in his grandfather's lap. "That puppet was creepy. I do wonder why you didn't take on Mizuki yourself, the way you did with Zabuza." "Oh," Naruto's face fell. "I just didn't want all those people who were watching to see how dangerous the Kyubi brat could be." "I was gonna ask you about that," said Konohamaru with all the sensitivity of an 8-year-old. "Why did Mizuki call you Kyubi brat?" "Naruto. It's okay, Gramps. I figured it out years ago," said Naruto seriously. "The villagers have been calling me Kyubi brat and Demon Spawn ever since I can remember. and you always avoided the question whenever I asked you who my parents were. Hiruzen frowned, wondering if Naruto had figured out who his parents were. Konohamaru, continued Naruto, did anyone ever tell you about the attack 13 years ago, when the great nine-tailed demon fox, Kyuubi no Kitsune, attacked Konoha? Aha, nodded the little boy. Everyone knows that the Yondaime Hokage defeated the Kyuubi. And that's true, but it's not the whole truth. Aha, said Konohamaru. Get to the point already. You see, explained Naruto, the Kyuubi was my daddy. Hiruzen choked. 2ANBU lost concentration, fell from the ceiling, and hit the floor headfirst. Konohamaru said, Whoa, really? Really? Naruto nodded. I see, said Konohamaru, having solved a great mystery. That explains the whiskers. Yeah, I guess it does. You're not scared. Konohamaru shook his head. It's pretty badass, actually. Hey Naruto, can you teach me some jutsu? Sure, I guess. Great. I'll call you boss. Like your smoky clone did back in your house. Konohamaru grinned. Seeing the perfect shot, Naruto snapped a photo of Konohamaru grinning in his grandfather's lap while his grandfather was still frozen in horror. Hey boss, why'd you take a picture? I'll show you after I get it developed. He turned around and snapped another photo of the 2ANBU, sprawled in an undignified manner on the floor. Hiruzen finally unfroze. Naruto, he said, I don't know how to put this, but your father was not the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Huh? Said Konohamaru. You mean the Kyuubi was his mommy? Ack, no. Neither of Naruto's parents was anything but human. And you just pranked me, didn't you? Naruto's Cheshire grin said everything. How to be a Ninja. By Minato Namikaze. Chapter 5. A little bit of everything. A good ninja is a well-rounded ninja. A good ninja knows a little bit of every possible ninja art, and is always willing to learn more. And most importantly, a good ninja knows several ways of countering every possible ninja art. Therefore, in this chapter 1 have listed every major branch of the ninja arts that I know of along with my thoughts on them. Chapter 6. Control. Stop it, that tickles, giggled Naruto, batting away Konohamaru's hand. After Naruto had pulled up the top of his orange tracksuit along with his undershirt and molded chakra to show the seal on his stomach, the little boy had jumped off his grandfather's lap and proceeded to poke Naruto's stomach with his 8-year-old fingers. How does it work? Asked Konohamaru. Naruto looked up at the Hokage with a question on his face. Hiruzen smiled and nodded, as if to say, Go on, explain it to him. Well, have you ever used a storage scroll? Asked Naruto, dropping his shirt to cover his belly again. No, Konohamaru shook his head. But I've seen Grandpa do it. Naruto scratched his head for a moment, then pulled a scroll out of a pocket. This, said Naruto, is an empty storage scroll. He unrolled the scroll on the floor, showing an intricate spiral design made out of many, many lines of ink. Hiruzen's eyes widened in surprise. That's not a standard storage scroll, that's an Uzumaki seal. Did Naruto make that himself? The paper is new, he couldn't have just found it somewhere. Then he had another thought. Letting Konohamaru interrogate Naruto may be the best idea I've had since I stole that crystal ball during the Second Ninja War. Now, do you have something to store in the scroll? Konohamaru dug in his pocket and pulled out a wooden kunai. Perfect, declared Naruto. Put the kunai on top of the scroll in the middle of the seal design. Do you know how to channel chakra? Yeah, grinned Konohamaru. Like when Sensei taught me the leaf-sticking exercise, right? Exactly, said Naruto. Put your finger on the seal. Now think, I want to put this kunai in the scroll and channel a bit of chakra into the seal. With a puff of smoke, the wooden practice kunai vanished into the scroll. Now, said Naruto, this scroll is special. You can actually add a bunch of other things to the scroll without taking the kunai out. Naruto grabbed the chair he had been sitting on, dragged it and put one leg onto the scroll, then sealed the chair into the scroll. There are 3 things you have to be careful about. First, you can't store anything living into this scroll, so no hiding people or animals in there. Second, the limit for this scroll is 500 cubic meters of stuff, which is about half the size of this room. So if you find that you can't add something to the scroll, it's probably because it's already full. And third, when you take stuff out again, it all comes out at once. So make sure you have plenty of space to unload it when you do. Got it. Naruto handed the scroll to Konohamaru. Okay, now I want you to think, I want to take everything out of this scroll while channeling some chakra into it. Naruto stood back and Konohamaru unsealed the kunai and chair from the scroll. Cool, shouted Konohamaru. Naruto rolled up the scroll and handed it to Konohamaru along with the kunai. Keep it, it's yours. Thanks, bro. No problem, Konohamaru. Now, back to our original discussion. Can you guess what this seal does? Naruto lifted his shirt again, showing the 8 trigram seal. It turns you into a storage scroll? Said Konohamaru. Exactly, Naruto beamed. My belly is like a storage scroll that holds a giant, talking fuzzy 9-tailed critter. That's why this seal looks so much different than the seal on the storage scroll. This one is designed to hold tailed beasts like the Kyuubi. So, if you channel some chakra into the seal, can you get the Kyuubi out again? Asked Konohamaru. Naruto snorted. No, actually this one is designed so you can never get Kyuubi out again. This wasn't entirely true, but Naruto was not going to say anything about that. Konohamaru, said Hiruzen seriously. Yes, Gramps. This is important. You must never speak of the Kyuubi being sealed in Naruto to anyone. Not your friends, not your teacher. It's an S-ranked village secret, which means you can actually be put to death for telling the secret. Understand? Konohamaru nodded soberly. Okay. Now why don't you two help me wake up these brave NBU, who seem to have fainted on our floor? Hiruzen was answered with 2 wicked grins. Can we use fire? Asked Konohamaru. After waking the 2 guards in the most embarrassing way possible, Hiruzen sent Konohamaru home with his mother, who, while in ANBU, had fortunately or unfortunately not been one of the 2 in the room. Then he sent the ANBU to guard the doors of the room from the outside, and used a privacy seal to prevent anyone from hearing. This left Naruto alone with Hiruzen, who had questions he didn't want his grandson to hear the answers of. Naruto, how did you really learn about the Kyuubi? Asked the Hokage. Naruto thought back to when he was 9 years old. Well, the new underground training room was finally ready to use. Shikamaru, Shino and Naruto had racked their brains and searched all the libraries they had access to for an earth jutsu that could hollow out a large space under the bedrock, until Naruto finally came up with the method of using the hiding like a mole jutsu, which temporarily turns the dirt and rock you are digging through into soft sand, to carve out large chunks of rock and seal them into storage scrolls. When they had hollowed out a large enough cavern, they smoothed out the walls and floor with multiple earth release. Earth-style walls, and Naruto had painted chakra-absorbing seals on the walls, ceiling and on the rock below the dirt floor in order to prevent anyone from sensing their training methods. In addition, Naruto had painted seals on the ceiling to keep the air fresh and provide lighting. The result was a giant underground room, deep below the surface of the bedrock, 120 meters wide in either direction and 30 meters tall. It was glorious. Today, Naruto was alone in the training hall. With a sense of accomplishment at finishing their project, Shikamaru and Shino had decided to take a couple days off of training. Naruto, on the other hand, was just too excited. He could finally take his training to the next level. Naruto formed a cross-shaped hand seal with his index fingers. Focusing his chakra, he shouted, "Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu." 200 clones appeared in the training hall. Naruto frowned. He didn't even feel tired. Okay, everyone spread out. I need more space. His clones complied. Naruto took a deep breath in and focused as much chakra as he could. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. This time, 1,000 new clones appeared in a giant puff of white smoke. Naruto grinned. Then he toppled over in a dead faint. Naruto opened his eyes. He inspected his surroundings. Huh. Usually when I pass out, I either wake up right where I fell, or in a hospital bed. Not to mention. He blinked. I'm usually lying down. He had awoken in a concrete sewer tunnel with pipes running overhead, standing ankle-deep in water, which strangely enough wasn't dirty like in a normal sewer. He heard growling in the distance. Weird. Well, said Naruto, may as well go check that out. Instinctively walking atop the water, Naruto took off at a wary jogging speed. Eventually, the sewer tunnel entered a large, dark, cavernous room. On one side, there was an enormous pair of doors made of metal bars, like a prison gate. The doors were seemingly held shut by a single piece of paper with kanji for seal written on it. Beyond the doors was darkness, until a fearsome killing intent, more than Naruto had ever felt before, blasted from behind the doors. And an enormous, glowing set of eyes appeared, and a gigantic set of fangs, each tooth taller than Naruto himself. Naruto froze in fear. Hello, human, said the creature. Its voice reverberated through the room, shaking Naruto's bones. Naruto jumped back. What the hell? Shouted Naruto. It's a giant carnivorous talking bunny rabbit. I am not a bunny rabbit, roared the creature. I am the great nine-tailed demon fox, Kyubi no Kitsune. Bow before me, peon. Kyubi? Said Naruto. You don't look so tough. Grrarj, roared the now-named Kyubi, slamming into the cage doors. Also, said Naruto, you're definitely a bunny rabbit. Nothing else has big, long, cute-looking ears like that. He nodded as if to affirm his conclusion. How dare you? You criffing spawn of a womp rat and a hut. I am not cute. You're a Star Wars fan? Darth Maul is my favorite character. I bet your favorite is something lame like that whiny fleshbag Luke or the preachy green shrimp, Yoda. Hey, Yoda is totally awesome, but yeah, Luke is kinda wimpy, and my favorite character is actually Boba Fett. Boba Fett? Nobody knows anything about him. I'll never understand why people like Boba Fett. He isn't even a real character. He only has like 18 lines in all the Star Wars movies, and most of them are in one of the trashy prequels. Exactly, explained Naruto. He's like a ninja. Of course, nobody knows anything about him. Whatever. Now what do you want, human? Did you come here to demand some of my power? Growled Kyubi. Huh? No, I don't want anything. Well, actually, I want to know where I am and how I got here. And preferably also how to get out. You don't want my chakra? Why would I want your chakra? And isn't it like yours? How would I be able to use it anyway? You don't know, do you? Know what? Kyubi snorted. 9 years ago, that stupid blonde fleshbag, your yondaime, sealed me inside you. Humans with bijou sealed inside of them are called Jinchuriki human sacrifices. Jinchuriki can use their bijou's chakra to gain power and become fearsome fighting machines. Naruto stopped breathing. The yondaime, my father. And I'll bet the villagers all knew about it, and that's why they call me demon and evil all the time. But I'm not a demon. I'm a human with a well, you sealed inside me. Wait. If you're sealed inside me, how am I talking to you? Is that paper thing holding the doors shut? Is that the seal? And where are we? We are in your mind. I guess you'd call this your mindscape. And yes, that paper represents your control of the seal. So mindscapes are real? I thought they were only fiction, like in Inception. Wait, Inception has dreamscapes, not mindscapes. Are those real too? Yes, but there's no time dilation effect. Cool, but if this is my mindscape, where are my memories? Isn't there supposed to be some representation of my memories somewhere around here? Like books or glowy orb things? I don't know. This isn't a Harry Potter fanfic. Mindscapes aren't even part of HP canon anyway. Meh. I'll figure it out. So, Jinchuriki. What are the other Jinchuriki like? Are they samurai or ninjas? Humph. They call themselves ninjas. But, if a human used a Biju's chakra, wouldn't they be fighting more or less like a samurai? No swords, but if I used your chakra, I'd probably be glowing orange and people would be able to feel the chakra output miles away. Granted, it would be extremely powerful in a blunt weapon kind of way, like a proton torpedo. Everyone could see it coming and everyone would know who it was. Not very ninja-like. True, but that never stopped any of the other ninjas. I don't get it, said Naruto, frowning in thought. You almost sound like you want me to use your chakra. Of course I don't want you to use my chakra. It's my chakra. Yes, you do. You've been practically offering it to me this whole time. And you're answering my questions and stuff and more or less acting nice. I am not nice. I am a demon. I am the greatest, most powerful demon in the world. I am evil incarnate. Exactly. Which is why it would be incredibly stupid for me to take your chakra. I mean, seriously, anyone who reads comic books or watches TV or movies knows that using a malevolent source of power, one that you didn't earn, practically makes you a supervillain. I mean, the only good guy I can think of who uses an external source of power is Doctor Strange, and he gets his extra power from Agamotto, who's a nice guy. You're more like Dormammu, except slightly cooler. And then there's the fact that the bad guys who use external sources of nasty power always end up getting badly beaten like Baron Mordo or exploding like that extremist guy in Iron Man 3 or dying when the power leaves them or possessed or eaten within a couple of episodes or by the end of the movie or comic book. It'd be like Spider-Man using the alien symbiote slime thing that tries to take him over. I mean, how idiotic and boneheaded would I have to be? Damn, huffed Kyuubi. I was hoping you'd fall for that. You're a funny guy, you know, snickered Naruto. What's your name anyway? Kyuubi is just a description of your nine-tailed form. It's not a name. I'm not telling you my name. Names have power for powerful beings such as I. Just call me Kyuubi. Naruto blinked. Huh, really? I thought that was a fairy tale thing. Okay, Kyuubi. Then he changed the subject. By the way, have you seen the Star Wars movie they released 2 years ago? Can you even get movies in here? There's a new one? Really? Who knew? Kyuubi could use the puppy dog eyes. It would have been effective, especially with the bunny ears, if he hadn't been 5 stories tall. Man, that really sucks, said Naruto. Do you know if there's a way I can get you the movie? If you let me, I can access your senses, so I can see what you see and hear what you hear. Cool. So all I have to do is re-watch the movie. Wait, what about shadow clones? Can you see the memories that come in when a shadow clone is dispelled? If I send a bit of chakra that way, and if you channel your intent into the seal. Yeah, probably. I don't think I can access your older memories though. Okay, let's try that. I don't really want to go back and rewatch all the movies that came out in the last 9 years myself. Thanks, human. I have a name, you know. It's Naruto Uzumaki. Fleshbag. Bunny rabbit. Stupid blonde. Fuzzbutt. Ramen addict. Hey, don't knock ramen. It's the food of the gods. I'm a demon. Good point. What's your favorite food? Then. Chocolate. Dark chocolate. The good kind, not that plastic from Hershey's. Kyuubi's face twisted in distaste as he said, plastic, preferably German or Swiss. Huh, I would have figured you'd say humans. Humans are all right, but the good ones are rare. I like them nice and fat. Daimyos are especially good. Why do you attack Konoha then? It's a ninja village, not many fat people. You wouldn't understand. Try me. Not telling. Come on. Naruto pouted. After all this bonding we did. Bonding, Faye. I was bored. If you don't tell me, I won't let you watch movies. Fine. I'll tell you. Great. I'm listening. Eventually. Now leave, human. But, fine. This isn't over, you know? And you haven't even told me how to leave. It's your mind. Just focus on wanting to leave. Oh, got it. Duh. Naruto turned around as if to leave. One more question, said Naruto, turning back. This is very important. I have to know. Are you a guy or a girl? Insolent fleshbag, growled Kyuubi. He blasted some chakra through the bars, sending Naruto out of his mindscape and into consciousness. Well, said Naruto, his mind back in the present. He told Hiruzen, I made too many shadow clones one time and ended up talking to the Kyuubi in my mind. And that's how I found out Kyuubi was sealed inside me. So you can talk to the Kyuubi? Yeah, he's actually pretty cool once you get past the whole I wanna eat you thing. And he's definitely a he. I got Kiba to show me how to tell the sex of a dog once, and I snuck up on Kyuubi while he was sleeping. Definitely a dude. Hiruzen blinked. Well, you learn something every day. I really should be used to Naruto's antics by now. How old were you when this happened? Naruto scratched his head. 9. By the way, Naruto, said Hiruzen, changing the subject, or perhaps finally getting to the point. How did you learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu? It's a B-rank forbidden jutsu. Normally only our Jonin have access to jutsu like that. I read it in a book? Hiruzen used his Hokage stare. Naruto sighed. Then he blanked his face. How about you tell me who my parents were, and I'll tell you where I learned the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto. I know you know. I've always known you were lying when you said you didn't know. Are you trying to blackmail me? I deserve to know. They're my parents. It's an S-class secret. It's an S-class secret about me. It should be my secret. And you know I can keep a secret. Really, you? Keep a secret? The loudest ninja in Konoha? I've known the Shadow Clone Jutsu for 4 years, and you just found out today. Same with my knowledge of the Kyuubi. And Naruto narrowed his eyes at Hiruzen. Not even Kakashi-sensei knows I can make my own custom storage scrolls. So he caught that I noticed, did he? Then again, I should have expected it. I wonder if his academy grades were faked or if he just didn't care what they were, like Shikamaru Nara. Hiruzen sighed. All right, Naruto, but keep in mind that your parents, both of them, had a large number of enemies. And many of them will not hesitate to strike at you because of who your parents were. Naruto nodded seriously. Hiruzen reached down and unlocked a drawer in his desk, eventually pulling out a photo, which he handed to Naruto, who took it greedily. Your parents were Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, the Yondaime Hokage and his wife. Finally, it took you long enough, said Naruto. So that's my mom, huh? She's older than in the other pictures I've seen of her. And she's pregnant. Hiruzen facepalmed. You already knew. You already knew. He sighed. I should have expected that, right? I'm a ninja, Grandpa. And not just that. I'm a teenager. I'm supposed to know things I'm not supposed to know. So how did you find out? I read it in a book. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Yup. It's nice being the one with all the answers. Isn't it? Naruto grinned. Finally, he unzipped his orange jacket, reached inside and pulled out a book, which he placed on the Hokage's big desk. That's the book. Book? Asked Hiruzen, his eyes traveling back to Naruto's face. Naruto looked at the book and tapped it with his finger. With effort, Hiruzen looked back at the book. Then he looked at Naruto again. Naruto nodded and tapped the book again. Hold on. Kai! Yup. There's a genjutsu on the book. But it looks like it's just just an out-of-date history textbook. And the genjutsu keeps coming back after I dispel it. Kai! Yup. It's a dual-layered genjutsu seal. One layer makes it look like a boring history textbook, and the other layer makes people want to ignore the book. The only exception is if the person looking at the book is a descendant of both Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. On top of that, Naruto sealed the book back into his jacket. There are security seals that make it so the book will self-destruct if anyone not authorized actually gets past the genjutsu and tries to open the book. So this book. It was written by my dad and it contains the Namake's family secrets. He's the one that put the seals on it. Ah, I see. And a few other things like the shadow clone jutsu, I take it. Yeah. He actually hid it in the academy library along with a few other places, hoping that his descendants might one day find it. Apparently, he was very much aware that the position of Hokage could require him to sacrifice his life for Konoha, and he didn't trust the system to keep his secrets safe and pass them on to his children. Minato, said Hiruzen, you clever boy, what else is in the book? Naruto snorted and grinned. Namake's family secrets. You might have guessed a bit of Fuinjutsu, and other things. Rasengan. Not telling, sang Naruto. Hiration. Hiration? What's that? Naruto plastered an innocent look on his face that was patently false. Hiruzen chuckled. The Chunin exams are next month. I believe Kakashi plans to enter your team. I look forward to seeing how you do. That's nice. I look forward to seeing if I can get through the exams without showing my skills. Naruto grinned. Speaking of Kakashi-sensei, could you do me a favor, Gramps? Don't tell him about the book. Or the Fuinjutsu. He hasn't actually taught us anything. Well, he taught Sasuke and Sakura the tree-walking exercise, but I already knew that. He's more of a team captain than a sensei, so I don't really want to share my secrets with him. Actually, don't tell anyone about the book. I've spoken with Kakashi about the training, actually, said Hiruzen. I told him to start teaching more. But yes, I'll keep the book a secret. A clan secret, actually. Not many know it, but when someone becomes Hokage, their family, no matter how small, becomes registered as a clan of Konoha, with all the rights and privileges of the founding clans. And if you share clan secrets with other people, those people are actually legally not allowed to share them with others. Cool. Thanks, Gramps. All right, I guess I'd better get to this paperwork. Okay. See you around, old man. Naruto left in a puff of smoke. He used Shunshin, thought Hiruzen. So he doesn't know the Hiration? Or maybe he knows the Hiration, but he used Shunshin to make me think he doesn't know Hiration? Damn it, that boy is as good as Ibiki with the mind games. Team 7, here for another C-ranked mission, said Kakashi. It was 10 o'clock the next morning. Kakashi had shown up to Team 7's meeting spot an hour earlier than normal and led them to the Hokage Tower via a ridiculously tortuous path. Didn't your team just come back from a C-ranked mission? Asked the Chunin behind the desk, who happened to be Hana Inuzuka. Regulations state that Genin teams have to do at least 15 D ranks for every C rank. Someone's gotta do those chores. Regulation 352H, created by the Yondaime Hokage, states that there's an exception to that rule if one or more members of the team are being harassed by yaoi fangirls. Arf, 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 said the Haimaru triplets, one after the other. Bullshit, said Hana, agreeing with her 3 ninja dog partners. Bullshit, said Sakura, agreeing with Hana. HN, said Sasuke, agreeing with Sakura, but expressing his reluctance at doing so for multiple reasons. It was amazing how much an Uchiha could put into a one-syllable grunt. Kakashi turned around, where a long row of heavy, polished leather-bound books sat on a shelf on the other side of the room, spanning the entire wall. He pulled out one of the newer books and searched the table of contents. There. Rule 352. H. Sakura, read it out loud for us, will you? A disbelieving Sakura read, officially recognized ninja teams, of whom one or more members have been harassed by yaoi fangirls or yaoi fanboys at any time during the last 15 days, shall be exempt from any rule enjoining them to take missions which require said team to stay within the borders of Konohagakure. That's awfully specific, said Hana. She grabbed the book to confirm for herself. Apparently, Naruto snickered. The yondaime had serious problems with yaoi fangirls when he was a genin. Kakashi shivered. Not just when he was a genin. All right, growled Hana. Here are the C-ranked missions. The bandit-killing mission, demanded Sasuke, his voice dripping with bloodthirst. The bandit-killing mission, agreed Kakashi. Okay, said Hana, recording the mission number and the team assigned to it. One more question. Said Kakashi. Which one of you is yaoi? Team 7 vanished so fast that one could be forgiven for assuming Kakashi had taught his students the Shunshin. Or Sasuke and Sakura, at least. Quick, Haimaru. After them. We'll sniff out the truth. No one escapes in Inuzuka, shouted Hana with a disturbing gleam in her eye. Izumo and Kotetsu stumbled as 4 figures dashed out of the gates of Konoha, almost blowing them over with the wind of their passage. Team 7 vanished into the distance, Sakura making a double furrow in the ground with her heels as Naruto and Sasuke dragged her backwards by the upper arms. Hey, Kakashi-sensei, what are the mission details? Asked Naruto once they had finally slowed down. Are we even heading in the right direction? Don't worry. I opened the top of the scroll while we were running towards the gates. The scroll says that the bandits in question have been attacking merchant caravans near Tanzaku-gai. Intelligence estimates that there are between 25 and 40 bandits in the group. Nothing special, just your ordinary bandits like the ones we chased out of Wave. The mission is to wipe them out. No hostages to worry about? Asked Naruto. No, that would make it a B-ranked mission. Let me guess. You've been carrying camping equipment for a long-term mission outside the village since yesterday. Yup, said Kakashi. Ogo de God, moaned Sakura. I don't have my stuff. Relax, Sakura, reassured Naruto. I've got enough supplies to spare, and I'm sure Kakashi-sensei has some to share as well. But I don't have my makeup kit, or a spare change of clothing. What if it rains? We're going on a mission to make what is, for some of us, our first kills, stated Naruto. And you're worried about makeup? First kills? Sakura froze. Naruto sighed. Kakashi-sensei, maybe we should double around. Sneak back into Konoha under Henge? I think Sakura would feel more comfortable if she at least had her own weapons. And this way we won't all be crowded into 2 tents. Kakashi considered that if they had to share 2 tents, either Sasuke would sleep in a tent with Sakura, which could end up in the boy getting molested in his sleep, or Sasuke would share with Kakashi, promoting the awful theory that the 2 of them were, involved, or Kakashi would have to share a tent with Sakura, who was a veritable banshee at all times and would probably make him deaf before morning. All right, team, consider this evasion training. We'll go forward until the next stream, and then we'll use the stream to lose our scent on the way back to Konoha. Hopefully Hana will assume we've used the stream to keep going forward, and we'll go the other way. Kakashi and Naruto were waiting outside the gates while Sasuke and Sakura went back in to fetch their weapons, camping equipment and makeup. So Kakashi-sensei, you're planning to get Sasuke and Sakura blooded on this mission? Kakashi turned his eye on Naruto. You've already made your first kill? Naruto took a deep breath. I was 6. A drunkard followed me onto my apartment roof with a knife. He got me pretty bad, but I managed to shove him over the edge. Old man Hokage helped me through it. I was 5, said Kakashi, surprising Naruto. I was a child prodigy, already a genin. It was war, so it was essential to get even our genin into fighting condition as quickly as possible. Sensei took us on a bandit-killing mission just like this one. I killed 7 bandits, slashed their throats or buried kunai in their hearts. Damn, said Naruto. They were silent after that. The team was lucky and saw neither hair nor fur of Hana and her ninja dogs before they reached Tanzaku-gai the next day. Kakashi stopped at the chief of police's office and obtained the latest information on the location of the bandits, before summoning his own ninja dogs and tracking down the bandit camp. Okay, said Kakashi. Here's the plan. We'll do this in daylight because you 3 don't have any experience with nighttime operations. According to my ninja dogs, there are 31 bandits in the camp. Priority is containment, We don't want anyone in the camp getting away. So the first thing we'll do is use stealth and set lethal traps in a 40-meter radius around the camp. Then we'll move in and set another ring of traps in a 30-meter radius. We'll do this in pairs. Sakura, you're with me, and Naruto and Sasuke are together. I'll send Pakin with Naruto and Sasuke to tell you where to set the traps. If a patrol or a stray bandit leaves the camp, let them leave without seeing you and we'll track them down later. Got it. After receiving the affirmative, Kakashi said, after setting the second circle of traps, each pair will go on the opposite side of the camp and will attack in person. The signal to attack will be an explosive kunai in the center of the camp. If at any point you suspect that one of the people in the camp is not there willingly, I want you to knock them out. Otherwise, your orders are to kill. Understood. One more thing. Sakura, when we attack, I'm gonna let you take point, and I'll cover your back. Naruto and Sasuke, you two are free to attack in whatever pattern you want, but make sure to watch each other's backs. Now remember, stealth as we approach the camp and complete silence until I give the signal to attack. Ready to go. Ready, said Naruto calmly. Why yes, said Sakura with obvious trepidation. HN, said Sasuke scowling. Move out. The smell of booze and campfire smoke was detectable by an unenhanced human nose even from 40 meters away in the pure air of the forest. The bandit camp itself was fairly quiet. Apparently none of the bandits were loud drunks, or maybe the loud drunks weren't drinking at the moment. Team 7 successfully set both rings of traps without incident, setting up hundreds of meters of tripwires, explosive tags every meter, and poisoned barbed wire. It was 2 hours of hard, silent work. Ninja are like sleight-of-hand magicians. Nobody ever thinks of the prep work, but without the prep work, the whole act would fall apart. At last, the hour had arrived and each pair of ninjas snuck up on the clearing. The dogs had desummoned themselves after guiding the ninja to the assigned locations and pointing them at the camp. Sasuke took point by mutual consent. Not that Sasuke would have accepted it any other way. Naruto breathed regularly as he crouched behind Sasuke, watching as the raven-haired genin trembled with adrenaline. Naruto wondered why Sasuke would want to take point. Seriously, if he had any sense he would have seen that first. By leaving Naruto to take the rear position, Sasuke was comparing him to Kakashi as someone to be relied upon to protect his back. And second, if Sasuke did anything embarrassing like, say, shaking before the fight, in the rear position he wouldn't have been seen. Egos work in strange ways. Bang! That was the signal. Sasuke and Naruto leapt up simultaneously and charged into the center of the camp. Sasuke led with a well-aimed brace of shuriken to the neck of one of the bandits, who was distracted by the initial explosion and went down choking on his own blood. "Ninja!" shouted one of the bandits, seeing their forehead protectors and the kunai held in Sasuke's left hand. He was quickly silenced by a kunai to the back of the head, thrown by Kakashi. Naruto frowned as the mission degenerated into a pitched battle. "Back off, Sasuke. Keep them from getting behind us. Fight at range." Sasuke didn't listen. He charged into the center of the camp, burying his kunai in the heart of a bandit hadn't yet drawn his sword. "Fire release! Great fireball!" shouted Sasuke, burning another bandit to a crisp. Then he attacked at close range, a kunai in each hand. "Stupid fucking Uchiha," grumbled Naruto. He rapidly threw kunai left and right, letting Sasuke take on the bandits in front of him and making sure none got behind Sasuke. A dozen armed bandits fell in short order, with the all-purpose ninja knives buried deep in hearts, spines, and heads. Sasuke clashed with a bandit wielding a katana. He blocked 3 swift strikes of the man's sword with his kunai before he slipped around and stabbed the man in the heart with the kunai in his other hand. Meanwhile, another bandit came up on his left and Sasuke had to duck to avoid a broad horizontal slash. He spun and threw a kunai in the man's stomach while he was open, then followed up by slashing the bandit's throat. A bandit ran out of a tent, sword in hand, and quickly had to duck a brace of shuriken Sasuke produced from his pouch. The last Uchiha dashed forward and engaged with his kunai, not even noticing as another scruffy bandit ran towards his back, only to fall dead from a kunai to the head courtesy of Naruto. "Run!" shouted one of the bandits. The 9 or 10 remaining bandits ran into the trees. The bandit who had crossed his sword with Sasuke's kunai tried to disengage. Naruto threw a kunai in his brain. "Naruto, that was my kill!" shouted Sasuke, his habitual scowl deepening. "Sasuke, you idiot! Look behind you. You don't just charge into the middle of a crowd of enemies like that. It's suicide. If I hadn't been here, you'd be dead." Sasuke looked around and saw bodies. Far more bodies than he was responsible for. Then Naruto saw something that made his blood freeze. "Sakura, no!" Sakura and Kakashi reached their appointed spot and waited to make sure the other pair had time to reach theirs. Sakura was shaking. The wait, as they always say, is the hard part. Kakashi laid a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Breath," he whispered. In, out. In, out. We're going up against a big crowd of men with swords. Keep them at range, fight along the edge of the camp. Remember that the bandits don't have the ability to fight from a distance. Sasuke and Naruto are going to appear from behind that large gray tent, so we're slightly to the right of the opposite side of the camp. I want you to circle to the right so that if any of us miss with our thrown weapons, we won't be throwing them at each other. Now, I'm going to be using minor genjutsu on any bandits that try to close in with us. So if you see one of them freeze up, don't hesitate and throw a kunai at them. Are you good?" Sakura nodded and whispered, "I'm good, sensei." "Okay, here goes." Kakashi threw a kunai with an explosive note tied to the ring. Bang! As one, they rose and dashed into the clearing forward and to the right. Sakura began throwing kunai as soon as she was in range. Her first kunai pierced a man's heart. She didn't look as he fell, moving right on to the next bandit. "Ninja!" shouted one of the bandits. Sakura didn't even see Kakashi's flying kunai as he took out the possible leader of the bandits. Sakura saw Sasuke charging into the center of the camp with Naruto following him a small distance behind. Sasuke fiercely attacked the bandits hand-to-hand until the crowd tried to close in behind him. She watched in shock as Naruto fired off a dozen kunai in the space of a second, wiping out an equal number of bandits with ruthless efficiency, protecting Sasuke's back. "Sakura, focus," commanded Kakashi. Sakura noticed a couple of bandits were charging towards them, swords drawn. They both froze at the same time, caught in Kakashi's genjutsu. Taking a deep breath, she threw a kunai at each of them, bringing each one down with a pierced heart. She stared as they fell lifeless to the ground. "Run!" shouted one of the bandits. Forcing her gaze away from the two she had killed almost in cold blood, Sakura saw the remaining bandits scatter into the trees. She built up her resolve instantly and gave chase to one of them, forgetting, in the heat of the moment, the last 2 hours they had spent setting up traps. "Sakura, no!" shouted Kakashi and Naruto in unison. Sakura chased one of the fleeing bandits through the trees. She was only 2 meters behind the bandit and closing fast. Unfortunately, the bandit was running right into the ring of explosive traps. With no direct line of sight to Sakura, Naruto did the only thing he could. He dashed through the woods at full speed, appeared in front of Sakura, and tackled her to the ground. Bang! Bang bang! In short order, 3 explosive notes went off, killing the fleeing bandit instantly and throwing him backwards. "UNH?" grunted Naruto as the bandit's body landed on top of him and Sakura. Sakura gave a shrill scream as her arm was broken. Naruto planted a hand on each side of Sakura and heaved the corpse off of them, standing up. As he did, Kakashi saw how Naruto had survived unhurt. Black liquid slowly disappeared from his skin, a sign of the Earth Release armor technique which covered the body in a layer of Earth-natured chakra. "Sakura, are you okay?" asked Naruto. Sakura lifted her broken arm, took a look at it, and passed out. "Let's see," said Naruto. "Broken arm, lacerations and bruising, some second-degree burns. She'll need treatment after this, but she'll be fine. We can take care of the rest of the bandits first." Explosions rang out as several of the bandits ran into the lethal traps. "All right, Sasuke, ordered Kakashi, you and me are going to take out the bandits who ran into the woods and didn't get killed by the traps. Naruto, stand watch over Sakura. Do you have enough chakra to create a couple of shadow clones to search the tents? In response, Naruto snorted and 6 shadow clones appeared next to him without a wisp of smoke. As one, they saluted jauntily and said in unison, "You got it, sensei." As Kakashi and Sasuke started sweeping the woods, 2 of the shadow clones started working on a makeshift stretcher using Naruto's hammock and a couple of straight saplings, while the other 4 clones slashed open the tents. A single scruffy bandit, passed out drunk, lay in one of the tents with his sword by his side. He didn't even twitch as one of the clones buried a kunai in his heart. 15 minutes later, the body count was complete and Team 7 headed back to Tenzakugai with a bandaged Sakura on the stretcher, carried by 2 of Naruto's shadow clones. Naruto produced another 20 clones to dismantle the traps, surprising Kakashi, who couldn't even make 10 shadow clones at once. "Hold on," said Naruto as Tenzakugai came into sight. "I'll be right back." He vanished in a shunshin before Kakashi could say anything. "HN," said Sasuke. "Now the dead last has abandoned us." "Stupid Uchiha doesn't know anything," said one of Naruto's clones. "Yeah," agreed the other clone. "He's the one who'd be dead if the boss didn't have his back." "You know, I think his ego is bruised," said the first clone. That makes sense," nodded the second clone. "Now that he's been shown the extent of his incompetence, he's trying to attack the boss to bring him down to the same level." "Pretty lame if you ask me," said the first clone. Kakashi shook his head. Trust Naruto to literally dominate a conversation when he wasn't even there. When did he learn the shunshin anyway? That was a Chunin-level technique. A minute later, Naruto reappeared in a puff of smoke. "I'm back," said he. Another puff of smoke revealed a woman with blonde pigtails. She wore a green haori, open Japanese coat, a jewel in the center of her forehead, and had a figure that was lauded in 1,000 perverted fanfics. "And I brought help," said Naruto cheerily. A third puff of smoke revealed another woman, this one with black hair and a more nondescript outfit. She was carrying a piglet. "And more help," said Naruto, grinning. "Everyone, this is Auntie Tsunade, this is her apprentice Shizune, and the piggy is Tauntaun. And yes, it's spelled Tauntaun, like the creature from Hoth, 'cause Shizune named him. Auntie, Shizune, this is the idiot I told you about. The hurt one is Pinky, and I think you've already met Kakashi-sensei." Naruto remembered the first time he met Tsunade, 2 years ago. A 10-year-old blonde boy was playing poker in a casino in the capital city of the Land of Fire. He had started with just 50 Rio, about $5 in USD, and somehow made his way up to the high rollers table where the minimum bet was 1 million Rio. "I'm raising my bet to 250 million, said Naruto. This was his first long trip outside of Konoha, having left several shadow clones to take his place at the academy so he could explore the Land of Fire. "All in," said the son of a minor daimyo from a neighboring nation, sweating. He didn't have 250 million worth of chips. "Raise to 260 million, said a tough-looking guy who was probably Yakuza. "Raise to 300 million, said a blonde-haired woman. Call, said Naruto, pushing an additional pile of chips to match the bet of 300 million Rio. "Call," said the Yakuza guy. "Flush." He put down his cards, revealing that he had 5 cards of the same suit, but not in order. "Damn it," said the minor daimyo's son. "I'm out." "Four of a kind," said the woman. "Beat that brat." Naruto put his cards down face up and looked to the casino owner for help, who was standing behind him and watching carefully. "What do you call this?" "Straight flush," announced the man. "Kid wins. Again." "Well, I know when to cut my losses," said the Yakuza guy, picking up his remaining chips and standing up. He left the game, leaving just 2 remaining players. "This is outrageous," shouted the woman. "The brat hasn't even memorized all the winning hands. and he hasn't lost a single hand that he didn't check. I can assure you, ma'am, the boy isn't cheating. I've been watching him closely since the game started. And these cards are chakra resistant. Even a high-level ninja would be hard-pressed to cheat at this table. Lady Tsunade, said a harried-looking woman carrying a piglet, standing behind the blonde woman. Please, that's enough. If you lose any more money, we'll be in debt again. Naruto frowned. Lady Tsunade? He asked. As in Tsunade Senju? Yeah, what of it, brat? Said the now-named Tsunade. Naruto beamed. You're my aunt. Your grandma was an Uzumaki, right? My mom was an Uzumaki. That makes you my aunt. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Databeo. Humph. Distant relation, said Tsunade. So what? You're still my closest relative that I know of, Auntie Tsunade. Don't call me that. So what's your favorite ramen flavor, Auntie Tsunade? Oh, it is so on, brat. 1 million. Deal. After winning the poker game, Naruto announced, I want to learn that game. And promptly won at blackjack. Then he won at bingo. Then he won at craps. By the end of the day, Naruto had learned 10 new gambling games and gained enough money to buy a small mountain. The casino had lost a month's worth of profits and gained a new age restriction rule for gamblers. Tsunade had lost all her money, forked over half a dozen IOUs to Naruto, and gained a nephew who was going to be the death of her. Come on, Auntie Tsunade, said Naruto enthusiastically, as they were leaving. I'll buy you all the ramen you want. Just tell me what your favorite flavor is. I don't like ramen. It's unhealthy. I don't believe you. You have Uzumaki blood. You have to like ramen. It was the national food of Yuzushioga-cure. It's the food of the gods. Ramen makes the world go round. Then Naruto smiled evilly. Hey Shizune, what's Auntie Tsunade's favorite flavor of ramen? Don't you dare, said Tsunade. Shizune looked conflicted. H.A., shouted Naruto, correctly interpreting Shizune's expression. I knew it. She does like ramen. Hey Piggy, what's Auntie's favorite flavor of ramen? Hang on, what's Piggy's name anyway? It's Tauntaun, said Shizune with pride. Tun-tun. No, no hyphen. And it's spelled T-U-N-T-A-U-N. Oh, Tauntaun. Naruto frowned for a second. Oh, then he beamed. You're a Star Wars fan. He's named after that creature on Hoth that they ride on, right? Shizune smiled. Yes, he is. Cool. What's your favorite Star Wars character? I like several of them, but I think Shakti would be my favorite. Yeah, she's pretty cool, even if she's not really a big fighter unless you go by some of the non-canon material. You know, you're only the second person I've met besides me whose favorite character isn't Luke or Yoda. Really? Who was the other? Oh, it was actually Kyuubi. His favorite character is Darth Maul. Tsunade and Shizune stopped walking. I'm sorry, said Tsunade. Did you say Kyuubi? As in the big nine-tailed carnivorous bunny rabbit? Yeah, he's a huge Star Wars nerd. Did you know he uses the swear words from the Star Wars universe? You're kidding, right? Asked Tsunade, studying his face. No. Why would I joke about it when the truth is already funnier than anything I could come up with? Then Naruto noticed something. Hey, we got off topic. I almost forgot. So Tauntaun, what's Auntie Tsunade's favorite type of ramen? Oink, oink, oink. Really? She likes it with shrimp? Oink, oink. Sometimes chicken and shrimp, sometimes beef and shrimp. Naruto nodded. Good choices. My favorite is actually miso ramen, but I always go for variety when I eat. Oink. Naruto's sweat dropped. No, of course I don't. I would never eat pork ramen. Kid, you're pretty weird, you know that, right? Said Tsunade. Of course. My dream is to be the best ninja in the entire world. Don't you know all the best ninja are eccentric? I don't think it works that way, Normally, they become eccentric after becoming outstanding ninja. Yeah, but auntie, if I went about it the normal way, I'd just go from Genin to Chunin to Jonin to Sannin and end up as Hokage. Do I look like the kind of guy who wants to sit around doing paperwork all day? You do know I'm skiving off from the academy right now, don't you? Tsunade snorted. Kid, I think we're going to get along just fine. You brought Tsunade, of the Sannin, to heal a simple broken arm, deadpanned Kakashi. Well yeah, she's my auntie, and she was in town, said Naruto. Moron, said Sasuke. You don't have a family. Wow, said Tsunade. He really is an idiot. Kakashi, it's good to see you again. Last time I saw you, you were a tetchy little brat the same age as Naruto here. Alright, let's see about the patient. Naruto's clones lowered Sakura's stretcher onto a smooth spot of grass. Tsunade and Shizen immediately knelt and started with diagnostic and healing jutsu, relinquishing Tauntaun to Naruto. Good splint kept her arm completely immobile. Broken arm, lacerations, bruises, burns. All done. Naruto, you really have to get your chakra control up to medical Nin standards. I can't very well have my nephew running around unable to heal simple stuff like this. Can I? I'm trying, said Naruto. But my chakra keeps growing, and it's hard enough just keeping my control at the same level all the time. You know how badly I want to be able to use your super strength. I suppose we'll have to wait a few years until you stop growing like a weed. Alright, let's wake her up. Sakura groaned. Sasuke dear, it's too early. Get back in bed. If my nephew didn't tell me that you had absolutely zero chances with your Sasuke dear, I'd reprimand you for not being on contraceptives. Tsunade was never one to mince words. Sakura's eyes shot open. Wah! Huh? Oh my gosh, the bandits. Naruto turned into a black guy. The bandit mission is complete, said Naruto. We got them all, and it's called Earth Release Armor. You coat your body in a layer of earth-natured chakra, he demonstrated, still holding Tauntaun, which gives you a medium-strong defense, good enough against things like those explosive tags you nearly ran into. Sasuke decided to weigh in again. Dead last, show me the hand seals. Sure, said Naruto in an overly agreeable tone. Just give me another useful jutsu of equal rank that I don't already know, and I'll teach you the jutsu. When pigs fly, said Sasuke, glancing at Tauntaun. Shizun shook her head. I'll never get over the fact that you do all your ninjutsu without hand seals. Of course, said Naruto. It makes them so much more useful in battle. And besides, I'm on a team with a wannabe Sharingan user with no sense of honor. Can't have him stealing my jutsu. HN, said Sasuke. Uchiha are above honor. Kakashi, make the idiot teach me that jutsu. Naruto snorted and looked to see what Kakashi's response would be. I'm sorry, said Kakashi, reading from an orange book. Did you say something? Throughout all this, Sakura was watching and listening. She finally had enough. Excuse me, said the pink-haired girl, sitting up on the hammock stretcher. But who are you two? They're the ones who healed you, interjected Naruto. This is my aunt, Tsunade Senju, and this is Shizun Kato. She's Auntie Tsunade's apprentice. Tsunade, Senju, Tsunade of the Sannin? Asked Sakura, somewhat awed. Yes, said Tsunade. And you, girlie, need to stop dieting, or you'll end up short, weak, and ugly. You're an active ninja and a growing girl. You should be eating at least 2,000 calories per day, probably more. What? But I need to look nice for Sasuke. And if you keep dieting, you'll end up malnourished and ugly. You don't know what you're talking about. Everyone knows dieting makes you look better. What kind of quack doctor are you? Sakura's preconceived opinions superseded her logic. Her subconscious recognized this fact and caused her to go on the attack instead of arguing rationally. This, unfortunately, does not make her unusual. Is she a Republican? Whispered Shizun to Kakashi. Repa what now? Blinked Kakashi. I don't know what that is, but it sounds vile. Later, Kakashi took Sakura aside and they had a very tearful, very heartfelt, and very, very standard talk about Sakura's first kill. It was not, however, life-changing, for Sakura still wouldn't stop dieting. Then Kakashi took Sasuke aside and tried to have the same talk, only to run into a solid obsidian wall. Dead last, teach me that jutsu, demanded Sasuke. Team 7 was on their way back to Konoha after completing their mission. Didn't you hear me before? Teach me something of equal value and I'll trade. It's only fair. HN, I am an Uchiha. You should be grateful. It would be an honor to teach me a jutsu. Naruto snickered. You just don't know any C-rank jutsu besides the Great Fireball, do you? And you don't want to give me your signature jutsu. Of course I know other jutsu. I'm not an idiot like you. Oh, and what other jutsu do you know that I don't? I'll just get the council to make you teach me that jutsu. Oh? Sakura, it looks like Sasuke likes Koharu better than you. What? Screamed Sakura. That stupid, disgusting, pedophiliac, geriatric old HAG. How dare she make a move on my Sasuke? Grr. She immediately started moving faster through the trees. Kakashi's mouth twitched under his mask as he breathed out slowly in an attempt to avoid laughing. Naruto sighed dramatically. Ah, to what lengths we go for new jutsu. I suppose I'll have to take pity on you and offer an alternative. And what alternative is that, idiot? Asked Sasuke impatiently. Naruto grimaced in fake disgust. I really don't want to do this. Fine. Give me access to the Uchiha library for 24 hours so I can learn something from there, and I'll teach you the jutsu. HN. Deal, said Sasuke, smirking at the thought of Naruto suffering in a library. Damn, thought Kakashi. We should get Naruto in the T&I department. He'd get the prisoners singing like birds and they'd be happy about it. One copy of the entire Uchiha library coming up, thought Naruto. Internally, he was laughing evilly. 2 weeks later, Naruto strolled into an village inn on the other side of the Land of Fire. Auntie Tsunade, Shizen, Tauntaun, fancy seeing you here. Tsunade shook her head. Hi Naruto, how did you find us this time? Well, there was this weird greenish-yellow guy wearing a top hat and calling himself Jimny Cricket, which is funny, 'cause I'm pretty sure he was a grasshopper. He said he was my conscience and told me to go here. Really now? And did your conscience tell you to beat me at poker again and take all my money? No, not this time at least. I actually brought a present. A present? Tsunade could be forgiven for looking a little eager. Last time Naruto brought a present, he gave Shizen a real, working lightsaber. The plasma blade was composed of 3 different elemental chakras: wind, fire, and lightning, so it had no elemental weaknesses and could probably even cut through the Raijin. Yup, it's not for you though, said Naruto. Tsunade pouted. Shizen looked hopeful. It's for Tauntaun. See Tauntaun, I made you a present. Wait till you see what it does. Shizen's face fell. Tauntaun said, Oink. Yup, said Naruto, pulling out a bright orange box from somewhere. Let me help you put it on. He attached a miniature shoe to each of Tauntaun's cloven feet. Then he pulled out a set of white feathered angel wings and strapped them to the piglet's back. Okay, said Naruto. Now all you have to do is jump. Oink, said Tauntaun. Yup, jump. You'll figure out the rest. Tauntaun jumped into the air and stayed in the air. HA! Shouted Naruto, pumping his fist. Who says pigs don't fly? Tsunade and Shizen just smiled as Tauntaun buzzed around their heads. How to be a Ninja by Minato Namikaze. Chapter 6. Better chakra control equals better ninja. Chakra control makes you better at ninjutsu, genjutsu, and any other art that requires the use of chakra. That's obvious. So why don't we teach anything beyond the first step of chakra control at the academy? I don't know, it's stupid. It's one of the basics that every ninja needs to know regardless of their future specialization. There's actually a secret many ninja don't know or don't think about. Hand seals are simply a crutch to help you control your chakra. The truth is, a ninja who has fully mastered a jutsu can control the chakra going into the jutsu without any hand seals at all. This takes an immense amount of practice in order to get the muscle memory, so to speak, down perfectly. When this is done, you can spam out jutsu faster than anybody else in the world, use less chakra for each technique, and strike with absolutely no warning about what's coming. Just make sure you don't yell your jutsu's name before striking, because that would defeat the purpose. The Bijou, the infamous tailed demons that used to roam the elemental nations before they were sealed in human hosts, actually don't use hand seals or any equivalent crutch when fighting. They just spam out fire, wind, lightning, etc., even Bijudama, tailed beast balls, their ultimate technique, using sheer chakra control. Although, being the unsubtle creatures they are, some of them, like the one-tailed raccoon dog, are known to actually shout their technique names, as stupid as it is. Have you heard of the Rasengan, one of my signature jutsu? It's actually a pure chakra control jutsu. There are no hand seals for it. It could even be categorized as a chakra control exercise. In fact, if your chakra control is good enough, you can actually perform jutsu with parts of your body other than your hands. You could hit someone with a lightning jutsu while kicking them, or untie yourself using wind blades from your forearm instead of your fingers. I'm still working on forming a Rasengan using my foot.